Welcome to the following presentation of the Southeastern Conference on ABC.
It's senior day at the Swamp, where the Florida Gators have won 3 in a row. Last week, LSU's playoff hopes ended here with a loss. Today, Lane Kiffin brings his Ole Miss Rebels to Gainesville, hoping to avoid the same fate. But he does have Jackson Dart on his side atop the SEC in yards and touchdowns, squaring off with a freshman star in the making in DJ Lagway, who played hurt and courageously and won a huge game last week for Billy Napier over LSU. Can the Gators play spoiler again? We're about to find out as we welcome you to Gainesville and the Swamp and the SEC on ABC. You're watching ESPN College Football on ABC, presented by Tums Gummy Bites. Perfect day for football, and we're glad you can join us. For Ole Miss and Florida, playoff spots certainly hanging in the balance for the Rebels, really the rest of the way. It feels like it is playoff football for Ole Miss. According to our All-State playoff predictor, they are 84% in with a win, 4% with a loss. Bob Wischusen here with Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath will join us in just a moment as well. And Greg, you might as well change those numbers to 100% in and 0% out with a win or a loss the rest of the way for Ole Miss. Basically, since they picked up their second loss of the season, it's been playoff football the rest of the way, and I think they know that.
And it's actually brought out their best, most notably against Georgia a couple weeks ago. Probably the best performance we've seen from Ole Miss in the Lane Kiffin era, in large part due to the leadership they're getting at the quarterback position. Jackson Dart was outstanding against Georgia. Decisive in the passing game, accurate, and played with a lot of guts because of that injured left ankle. The production's been off the charts all season long, and he raised his game to the next level against both Arkansas and against the Georgia Bulldogs when they absolutely had to have it. One thing to watch, though, is that left ankle. Injured on the second offensive snap of the game against the Bulldogs. It didn't have a huge impact on his performance, but it's worth noting it's heavily wrapped up. Will it affect his mobility today?
And the Gators can get after the quarterback. They certainly did last week against LSU.
That was what won them the game last week against one of the best offensive lines in the country, a group that had only had 6 sacks given up all season. The Gators got home 6 times. It starts on the edges with Tyreek Sapp and George Gums, and then in the interior, Caleb Banks with a breakthrough performance last week. He could be huge against an inconsistent Ole Miss offensive line.
A perfect day for football. Can the Gators pull up another upset? We'll find out. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC. Welcome back to the SEC on ABC. The Gators and Ole Miss set to kick it off. This series deadlocked across the board. The road team has played well, though, and Ole Miss certainly hoping that trend continues. Bob Wischusen, Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath. Gators won the toss and deferred, so we will see a lethal Ole Miss offense, Greg, to start with the football.
And they are going to do a great job of trying to make this Florida defense think. Florida, when they tackle well, they're extremely difficult to move the football consistently against. So Lane Kiffin's going to try to get those defensive backs on islands, see if they can tackle some of these great Ole Miss wide receivers in the open field.
This game will start with a touchback. And Molly, Jackson Dart gets a big weapon back today.
Yeah, that's right, Bob. Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris returns to the field for the first time in over a month today, and head coach Lane Kiffin told us Harris sought multiple medical opinions from doctors over the bye week to talk about the severity of his groin injury. He's since been cleared. He practiced for the first time this week, but Kiffin cautions he's not 100% healthy or back to full speed. There's concerns about rust and conditioning, but he said the biggest thing his return brings is extra confidence to quarterback Jackson Dart, who calls Harris his security blanket. Guys.
And he lines up in the backfield and now splits out wide on first down. How good was Trey Harris before he got hurt? He's missed 3.5 games. He still leads the SEC in yards receiving, but going the other way for a pickup of 4 on first down. Jackson Dart finds Jordan Watkins, immediately hit by Triquez Bridges.
And in Harris's absence, Watkins has really stepped up, and he's become kind of the speedster go-to guy on the outside, so they'll continue to use him.
Now they'll run it with Micah Davis. He's about a yard short of the first down. Jack Pyburn made the stop. It'll be 3rd down and 1. And already we've got an injured Gator. That's Aaron Gates. The depth of the secondary will be tested early for the Gators as Gates is down. We'll step aside.
Drawing the most flavor out of something.
Finale, live Tuesday.
Redshirt freshman Aaron Gates, Greg, went right to the locker room after he was injured.
And just unfortunate because it was his own defensive end, Jack Pyburn, who was working across the formation from right to left. Tries to make a tackle on the running back, and unfortunately the right leg of Gates gets caught underneath his own teammate. So little friendly fire and unfortunate loss early, like you said, though, Bob. It'll test the secondary that is a little bit thin at both corner and at safety.
They line up J.J. Pegues to take the direct snap on 3rd down and 1. And the big fella downhill. He's got it. That is a lot to tackle, as he's got 6 rushing touchdowns this season. 325 pounds. He was a tight end in high school. He was a top 10 prospect at tight end. He can catch it, he can run it, and he's also a pass rusher.
He's also 12 for 12 on short yardage and goal line situations. Guy can't be stopped.
They keep it on the ground with Micah Davis. Now, of course, the Rebels lost Henry Parrish for the year. He was their leading rusher with 10 rushing touchdowns, close to 700 yards. So now this is kind of a by-committee rushing game the rest of the way.
It is, and Micah Davis is really a wide receiver, but he's getting more and more reps at running back to try to give them a little bit more speed. They believe that they can get to the edge, get to the perimeter more in their run game. Not something they've used a lot, but they want to use it moving forward, hence the move from Davis from wide receiver to back.
Play action for Dart. Well protected. Floats one, drops it in, but it's dislodged from Daquan Wright. What a hit by Castell, but a flag out. Jordan Castell knocked the ball away from Daquan Wright, the tight end. Now Wright is hurt. The flag drops out. And we might have a targeting call.
The ruling on the field is a completed pass. Personal foul. Targeting. Defense number 14. The previous play is under video review.
So not only are they going to call targeting, they're also going to say that Daquan Wright completed the catch.
I don't know about the completion. Now, we'll see about the targeting right here. But it looks like right there, number 14, Castile, goes up, kind of launches. Does he hit the head or neck area of a defenseless player? That's a defenseless player going up trying to make the catch, so he has protection. He does launch, but it doesn't look like he gets to the head or neck area. It looks like he hits him in the stomach, but it, to me, doesn't look like there's targeting. But man, what a vicious, vicious blow by Castile.
We've got Bill Lamagna with us. Bill, I'm the amateur here. I think they got both wrong. It's not only an incomplete pass, I also can't imagine they're going to stick with targeting. What do you think?
Well, you're also wrong. You're not an amateur. You're one of the best, man. But he does launch, but I do not have contact to the head neck area, so this should be reversed by the replay booth. And it's an incomplete pass.
It's going to be 3rd down and 5 for Ole Miss back at their own 44-yard line as they take away the targeting foul. And of course it was an incomplete pass as well.
Yeah, and a good call there by the official. Excellent job by the SEC replay booth. It was the correct call. It was a big hit, and to call it targeting initially, clean it up after the fact. That was well executed by these officials.
So 3rd down and a long 4 for the Rebels, just inside their own 44.
This part of the field, they have used quarterback run in the past, and with 3 to 4 defenders left, he could run to the right.
Can Dart run? That's the question, right?
Of course, injured left ankle, but he did run a couple times at the end of the Georgia game to put it on ice, so I don't think he's afraid to, but I know it's not something they want to live with throughout this game.
Time still on the play clock to get it off. Davis empties the backfield. Dart scans, shows some mobility, extends the play. Now he'll go down. The Gators get home. Caleb Banks will end this drive with a Florida sack.
great job here. If you watch there in the secondary, they double cover Trey Harris. There's two guys. That's where they're trying to go with the football. Right here. Two defenders in this area. Talks dart out of it. It's great coverage across the board, and they force the punt.
Wobbly kick from Mazen, and it's short. DK on the run. Good field position for the Gators on that flip, as they will be at about their own 35-yard line to begin with the ball first after only a 37-yard punt. Toss in a 9-yard return. So DJ Lagway, he was a pocket passer last week with an injured hamstring. It's got to be a little bit better than it was last week. How much mobility he will have today could weigh heavy on this game.
And if his mobility is not at 100%, and according to the Gator coaches, they don't believe that it is, he's going to have to live with quick game. Get the ball out quickly against one of the most aggressive and effective pass rushes in the country.
They also have Montrell Johnson back. They're saying fully healthy. He only carried the ball a couple of times last week. Here he goes with a stiff arm to the edge. And he gets hammered out of bounds by Chris Paul after a gain of about 3. Molly.
Yeah, Lagway's hamstring injury has improved significantly. He had great range of motion in pregame warm-ups. He told us he's moving better, feels less tightness and limitation, but he does not have the green light to run just yet, guys. They're trying to keep him from overextending and hurting, re-injuring that hamstring.
Second down at 6. Steps up in the pocket. A pump fake, avoids the sack. Flag down as he scrambles for a would-be first down. Sontaran Perkins tripped him up, but a flag thrown from behind Lagway in the pocket.
There's no foul for a face mask on the play. It'll be third down.
So they picked the flag up, but they say Lagway gave himself up just before picking up the first down.
You can see the mobility there, not really in question, but the caution to put himself in harm's way at the end of the run is something that we'll be watching and monitoring throughout the game. So he looked pretty quick right there. Didn't look like it bothered him much, but we'll see if it continues to be a problem.
They've got Montrell Johnson with him in the backfield for third down and about a foot. Johnson, he's got the first down. So the Gators move the chains. How much did Lagway impress you last week? Really is what amounted to just a pure pocket passer.
It shows just how advanced he is as a quarterback in this system. Look, a lot of young guys have to rely on their ability to move and their athleticism. He doesn't. He has it, but he's very much a pocket passer.
A little zone read here, and a jump cut for only a couple of yards for Johnson.
I think one thing that's been huge for DJ Lagway is being able to lean on a veteran like Graham Mertz. They have incredible relationship. Mertz has taken DJ Lagway under his wing. Mertz at one time was a 5-star hotshot program-saving quarterback recruit himself. And he said bringing Lagway along with him has really allowed him to grow a little bit faster and be more comfortable as a freshman.
The toss to the edge for Johnson. It'll be third down and about 5 as Walter Nolan makes another tackle. They are still roommates on the road. Graham Mertz tore his ACL, done for the year against Tennessee back in the second week of October, and yet still on the road trips, rooms with Lagway, and they have those quarterback conversations.
That's a really special relationship, and I know DJ, he'll admit he probably wouldn't be where he's at in his development if not for being able to lean on Graham Mertz as much as he has.
Montrell Johnson empties the backfield. Lagway looks that way on the slant, broke it up. They tried to go to Montrell Johnson, and Trey Amos said no. The best cover corner in the secondary for Ole Miss. He might be the best cover corner, certainly one of in the SEC.
And a great job by Amos. Zone coverage. You don't often see a corner lined up against a running back. They try to go a slant route against inside leverage of Amos, but his eyes in the backfield the whole way. He times it perfectly and breaks up the pass. Amos has been as good as any corner in the Southeastern Conference this year, and he'll have to have a big game today against an aggressive Florida group that wants to throw downfield.
So now a Ray Guys semifinalist in Jeremy Crawshaw will try and pin Ole Miss deep. The end over end punt. Micah Davis lets it bounce, and it hops into the end zone. Just past DK, who couldn't save it. A nice bluff by Davis, and it worked.
On Amazon.
ABC College Football is presented by Tums Gummy Bites. Get fast relief of occasional heartburn. Use as directed. And in part by Olive Garden, where there's plenty of holiday cheer and breadsticks to go around.
The goalposts started at Vaughn Hemingway Stadium. That's where they ended up, in the square in downtown Oxford, about a mile and a half away after Ole Miss beat Georgia, a game you guys were at. Molly McGrath, you were in the middle of all of that. What was that like?
Well, that win was so big that they stormed the field twice in that one. It was so much fun and absolutely wild, and I was just shocked that I was able to get Lane Kiffin for that post-game interview. He was trying to get off the field in just a wild scene in Oxford.
How did you find him?
I was my own lead blocker.
Yeah.
It was very aggressive.
Goodness gracious. First and 10 at the 20-yard line after the touchback, and wide open, Caden Lee. That's a first down for Ole Miss. He picks up 16.
This is what's so difficult about trying to defend Ole Miss. They have so many weapons. Caden Lee in the slot against zone coverage. They'll throw it to him over and over again. Very, very quick and very decisive as a route runner.
Bouncing it to the outside, but nothing there for Davis. It's a nice one-on-one tackle for Bryce Thornton.
That's the name of the game of playing against Ole Miss, is got to tackle in the open field. So far, Florida's done a decent job of it, but 60-minute ball game, and one missed tackle could lead to a guy taken to the house.
Davis got a couple to make it second down and 8. Here comes a blitz. It's picked up. Dart. He's able to find Aquan Wright breaking tackles. He's able to shake off that big hit he took earlier that knocked the wind out of him. Gets back on the field. He's got 19.
Florida's going to have to figure out a way to take away some of those little curl routes out of the slot by the tight end and slot receiver.
Right again. Down the sideline. Must be fun to be a quarterback and play at this pace, I would think. What's the fastest pace, college or pro, that you ever played at?
I think there was 3 or 4 times I snapped it with 5 or 6 seconds left on the play clock. You know, we were a ball control team. Tempo for Ole Miss, very much their friend, one of the fastest. And the thing about it is they don't water down their complexity. They're every bit as complex from a formation standpoint as anybody in college football, but they also have the ability to go as fast as anybody. So it's very difficult to defend.
Play action for Dart. Floating right. Sees the sideline. As an alleyway. Gets bumped out of bounds right at the first down line again. And the flag comes out. Well, that was right in front of a whole bunch of Ole Miss fans right behind their bench, on their bench. And apparently the officials heard the complaint.
After the play, personal foul, late hit out of bounds, defense number 24. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
They got Cameron James, but Triquez Bridges was there as well. They both combine on that hit, so that puts Ole Miss right on the doorstep of the red zone.
Billy Napier looking on, puzzled, and I kind of agree with them. It didn't look like Jackson Dart was giving himself up. The contact was minimal, so a little bit unfortunate there for the Gators defenders on the sideline.
Quarterback draw. Behind the line of scrimmage, Dart goes down. Tyreek Sapp, Cameron James. Good penetration, and it was James that gets the stop, a loss of 3.
And this is the part of the field that could win it for the Florida Gators. Ole Miss, for as good as they are offensively, in the red zone, they become a little bit more human. Just 60% of their drives in the red zone end as touchdowns. That's 77th in college football. So if the Gators can hold them to 3 here, that's a huge morale boost, and it would take advantage of the part of Ole Miss's offense that has struggled at times this year.
Caden Lee to the 15-yard line. Makes it 3rd down and manageable. Sharif Denson on the stop. He actually got forward progress to the 14-yard line to pick up 9. So now 3rd down and 4. Big early play in the red zone for Ole Miss.
Usually 3rd down in this part of the field, they look in the direction of their big tight end, Daquan Wright. He's lined up right here at the number 3 spot. See if they get him on the move and give him a look.
They're going to run it instead. Bouncing off tacklers and getting turned back about a yard shy is Davis by Thornton. So now a decision. Do you take the early points if you're Lane Kiffin, or do you stay aggressive and go for it on 4th down from the 11-yard line?
I'd go for it, especially knowing that J.J. Pegues, their short yardage specialist, he's coming into the ball game right now. They had a 3rd down and short earlier that they converted. I expect quarterback power with a big 300-pounder, number 89, Pegues.
Florida answers with Desmond Watson, 449 pounds in the middle of their defensive line. Pegues runs right, brought down. He didn't get there. A stop on downs for the Gators. Sharif Denson in on the stop for Florida.
And I don't know what kind of play this was. You have Jackson Dart as your lead blocker on the fullback. He doesn't touch anybody. As a result, Pegues is stopped for the first time this year, and the Gators stand tall. Let's look at our Sonic drive-in recap, and it's the 4th down stop. Miles Graham ends up making the play, but what I can't figure out is Jackson Dart's being asked to be the fullback that's blocking out on Sharif Denson. It makes no sense. As a result, the quarterback, you expect him to be a lead blocker? That's an impossible ask. Instead, Pegues is met low by Denson, and Graham cleans him up, and a big stop by the Gators on a poor design by Ole Miss.
So after the takeaway on downs, freshman to freshman, as Jaden Ball fights his way out across the 15-yard line. It's not like they had Greg McElroy, like a truly physical, go hit the linebacker quarterback back there. Right? Not everybody has get the nose dirty quarterback like
Either
that.
Pegues didn't hit the hole the right way, or man, they're asking a lot of their quarterback. I know he's their heart and soul, but man, on a 4th and short, you want me to lead block? That's a tall task.
Jet sweep. Elijah Badger gets loose. Jitterbugging out across the 30. And the Gators move it with a 1st down out to their own 34-yard line. 23 yards before Xavier Harris finally brought him down.
Florida feels really confident about the way they can attack this Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss coming into this game, 2nd best rush defense in America, but they think with the misdirection they can catch them off guard.
They run it again. An ankle tackle made on Jaden Ball by Walter Nolan. Still picked up 3.5.
You look at the numbers for Ole Miss's defense. I mean, they're giving up about 79 yards a game on the ground, but sacks in college football contribute to that number. So traditional run defense, they feel like Florida does, that they can attack them, especially on the edges, against former Gator Prince Umanmiele, number 1.
Another downhill run. And finding room into the secondary, and breaking tackles is Ball. Another 1st down for the Gators.
And just a really good look. There's 3 different Ole Miss defenders on the right side of the line. You got 3 blockers. That's just really good numbers. Ball's patience allows that hole to open up, and then he hits it. That's a really good job of identifying where the weakness is for Ole Miss defensively as far as numbers are concerned, and running right into it.
True freshman quarterback, true freshman tailback, and they continue to combine. Lagway play action. Tries to avoid a sack and does. Gets one to the sideline. Oh, what a play by Lagway. Jaquavion Fraziers runs the out for 14. Strength by the freshman to shirk off the stack and deliver a strike.
And just an amazing job by Lagway. Around to the right-hand side, you have pressure by Paul. He's wrapped up around Lagway and somehow is able to release it.
Oh, again. 2 more yards.
That's just unbelievable strength there by Lagway. You have an All-American contender at linebacker in Chris Paul, wrapped up. You can't get your right leg involved at all as you try to deliver it. And he's still able to push the ball 15, 20 yards downfield with perfect accuracy, just unfazed by the pass rush as this amazing true freshman.
You mentioned how good Ole Miss is against the run. They're #1 in America in sacks and tackles for loss as well. He just shook the sack off and delivered that strike. 7th play of the drive. 2nd down and 8. They fake the end around, and getting tripped up was Jacoby Jackson. He almost broke a big one. Instead, Taryn Perkins was able to save a chunk run, make it 3rd down at about 5.
And on 3rd down, Ole Miss will bring in their pass rush specialist. So they'll bring in Prince Uman-Mielen, they'll bring in Walter Nolan, we'll have Taryn Perkins who will slide down to the defensive end spot, and then Ivy in there as well. So a very effective group against the pass. So expect Florida here on 3rd and mediums, where you might even think about going for it on 4th down. They'll stick to the run game if they like what they see in the box defensively.
Way to throw. Fought off another sack and is able to get the 1st down, hook up to Elijah Badger. It's goal to go for the Gators.
And just a terrific job by Lagway keeping his eyes downfield. This time it's Walter Nolan that has him wrapped up in the backfield, somehow is able to get rid of the football and finds Badger on the receiving end. This freshman at 240 pounds is just something else. So tough to bring down and so aware of where his players are on the field.
It looks like Paul was shaken up on that play. Our first chance to say hi to Kevin Nagandi.
Good afternoon, Bob. Time now for All-State Check-In. We'll get the Horseshoe Top 5 Showdown. Indiana strikes first on their opening drive.
They control the line of scrimmage. oh no, the Hoosiers are for real.
Tyson Lawton, the keeper, going in for the score. Right now, 7-0 Indiana on the road. Back to you, Bob and Greg.
Boy, and Greg, how important is that Indiana score to the Ole Miss team?
Because Indiana, they're sitting in front of Ole Miss, so not only do they potentially, if Indiana loses, they could drop behind Ole Miss, but Ole Miss could get a home playoff game depending on what happens in front of them.
Have to win this one, though. Jacoby Jackson brought down near the line of scrimmage, maybe only a yard to make it 2nd down and goal from the 9.
Inside the red zone, Florida, an obvious run team. More than 70% of their offensive snaps are run plays in this part of the field, but Ole Miss knows that. Everyone does. We're week 12 in college football. We've seen a lot of football, so I would anticipate something from Florida. Maybe some misdirection, maybe a little bootleg action. See if you can't slide one of their receivers or tight ends into the flat.
2 tight ends. They motion DK, but they run it again with Jackson. He gets turned back by Kyrie Coleman. And Ole Miss nearly ripped the ball out. And it looks like this may take us to the end of the quarter. As the Gators still looking over with less than 10 seconds on the clock. They will now trot over, and yes, we will remain scoreless, and a big 3rd down and goal coming for Florida to open up the 2nd quarter. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Coach, what does your offense need to do to get in the end zone here?
Well, first of all, number 2's made some crazy plays from the pocket. But, again, I think we're establishing the run, the physicality, the temperament that we want to play with. And, again, a turnover there, big-time 4th down stop. So, again, we got to play complementary football to get this done.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Billy Napier knows he's got a freshman quarterback that's out there making some heroic plays in DJ Lagway. But I'll put the question quickly to you, Greg. What do they have to do to get in the end zone here?
And this is such a tough down and distance for a young quarterback. I wouldn't be afraid to run him, even though he does have that hamstring issue.
Straight back to pass. Corner of the end zone, Badger. Touchdown. A dime from Lagway. Is hurt for Ole Miss in the corner of the end zone as well. An 11-play touchdown drive, and Yam Banks, the latest player to be concerned about, will step aside an injury timeout.
A moment ago, the touchdown by Florida. It's all-out blitz by Ole Miss. So what do? You find the one-on-one with your best wide receiver working against the safety, Yam Banks, on a slot fade, and look at the placement. Absolutely perfect, throwing him open, away from the defender, finding a matchup, and executing with precision against a pressure look called by the Ole Miss defensive staff. Just could not be better executed there by the Gators, and they cash in thanks to the fourth down stop by their defense on the other side. And the progressive pylon cam shows you obviously that Badger got that left foot down, and the guy covering him, Yam Banks, that right leg buckling underneath him, needing the card to be taken off. Unfortunate scene in the back of the end zone.
So after a scoreless first quarter, the first play of the second quarter caps an 11-play touchdown drive for the Gators. And they have the early lead. Trey Smack with the extra point makes it 7-0. Here's the SEC on ABC schedule for the rest of the day. Coming up at 3:30 Eastern, Kentucky will take on number 3 Texas. Then later on tonight, Alabama will meet Oklahoma. So much still to be determined in the brand new 12-team college football playoff. How many spots will the SEC get? Who's going to end up in the SEC championship game? And can Kentucky continue to be the team that puts scares into teams in the SEC? If not, prove to be an all-out spoiler.
I'll tell you what, man, Kentucky, they might be the most Jekyll and Hyde team I've seen in college football this year. To see how they played against Ole Miss, to see how they played against Georgia, and then to see how they played against Florida. It's like they were a completely different team. So if they somehow find themselves here at the end of the season to play their best football, they could make life a little difficult on the Longhorns tonight.
And now can Ole Miss answer as they find themselves down with Jackson Dart set to take the field again. We'll see with what type of field position. And it's going to be a touchback again, all the way through the back of the end zone. Jackson Dart, number 1 in the SEC, number 3 in FBS in yards passing. He gets Trey Harris back today, but Harris out there for a few snaps at the start. I'm not sure if they believed, as Molly said earlier, they were sure exactly how many snaps he would be able to play. He's out there to start this possession. He hasn't factored in yet. And Matt Jones makes his first appearance at tailback to the left of Dart to begin this drive. Dart off play action. Out of the pocket. He's going to take off and run. He's got an alley. And he dives for a first down.
This is what makes Jackson Dart so difficult to defend. He's got great feel in the pocket. Not crazy speed, but he knows as soon as there's an opening in the pass rush, he can take off and create with his legs.
Out to the bubble. Jordan Watkins. Close to another first down. George Gums brought him down. And it looks as if they will mark him a couple of yards short, so it'll be 2nd down and 2. Four-man rush. Dart floats one to the sideline off the fingertips of Daquan Wright, who was open. Caleb Banks put some pressure on Dart. Maybe that forced the pass to float a bit.
Just a little bit too far upfield as Wright tried to track it, but it's just a little bit too far out of the reach, and the pressure might have had an effect on how Dart's able to finish. As a result, he can't follow all the way through, so maybe the ball drifts just a hair to his right. And a 3rd down now. McGee's back in the ball game. Short yardage situation. He was stopped the last time on 4th and short.
He takes the direct snap. Fighting. Stopped right about at the line to gain. He's short again, it looks like, by a half yard. It's going to be 4th down and less than 1. Bryce Thornton, Shamar James combine on the stop. And they might stay with the same group. It looks like they will. J.J. Pegues stays in. Even bigger bodies are going to join him in the Ole Miss huddle.
And don't get too cute if you're Ole Miss. I mean, last time on the 4th and short, way too cute having your quarterback as a lead blocker. Just run it up the gut and let the 300-pounder do his business.
Look at all the big bodies in the backfield. Pegues to his left. Got it. Breaking tackle, spinning. He needed one, really a half yard. He got 8.
It was a good job here on the left side. I mean, Pegues going to kind of bounce this as a result of the left guard, Nate Kalepo. He goes and blocks the end man on the line of scrimmage. Pegues follows him, and there's plenty of space. Be alert for a shot play here if you're Florida. 1st and 10+ territory. Ole Miss likes to be aggressive.
They bring a blitz. Micah Davis runs right at the blitz and gets turned back, but he's got 5 yards on 1st down. The ball pops out, but the officials say forward progress was stopped and the play was over.
2nd down.
Another hit for Miles Graham.
So far, Ole Miss has done a decent job of being able to run the ball traditionally, but the pressure has been pretty apparent. They believe they can win up front, and that pocket is getting pushed and making Jackson Dart a little uncomfortable.
Play action. Dart well protected. There's the shot you were talking about, Greg, to the end zone. Dropped right down the chimney by Dart to Trey Harris. Welcome back to his big target for the touchdown. We wondered when he would make an impact. He just did.
And what a throw by his quarterback, Jackson Dart. Double post concept. The safety stays just low enough to allow Harris to get behind him. The ball is dropped perfectly over the top. And the strong, big-bodied Harris at 210 pounds is able to secure it, taking it to the ground and throwing it down with a big answer there for the Rebels.
7th touchdown of the season for Trey Harris. When he was lost, he had been accounting for 39% of Dart's completions on the season. I mean, nearly 40% of the offense for the #1 passing offense, or the #1 passing quarterback in the SEC, and the #3 passing quarterback in FBS. That's as big a slice of the pie as you're ever going to see between quarterback and wide receiver. And amazingly enough, this offense didn't take a production step back in his absence. And now they get him back. And we're tied at 7.
Trey Harris, the missing piece to what might be an unstoppable offense. He goes 43 yards over the top on his first catch, returning from the injury, and Jackson Dart has it knotted up at 7.
Pizza, better get you some Papa John's.
ABC College Football, presented by Tums Gummy Bites, is brought to you by Red One, the action-packed holiday adventure starring Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans. Now playing only in theaters.
Elijah Badger gave the Gators the lead. Trey Harris answers and then gets to hang from the rim. And we are tied at 7 here at the Swamp. Bob Wischusen here with Greg McElroy, Molly McGrath. And I think, Greg, the game we probably expected. Physical from Florida, big plays from Ole Miss, and close to start.
Yeah, and situational plays that could be the difference. A 4th down stop gives the ball to the Gators, leads to their first touchdown, and a 4th down conversion for Ole Miss leads to them matching a few moments later.
Let's check in again with Kevin.
Bob, time now for our AT&T countdown to the CFP National Championship. Both back to the Horseshoe. Ohio State 4th and 1. Stop short inside the 2.
Biggest surprise of the game, Kev. Indiana is owning the line of scrimmage on offense and defense.
Indiana holds. They're up 7-0 on the SEC Network. Look at this. UMass 6 touchdown underdogs. They score first in Athensburg.
Got a feeling that won't last, Kev.
No, enjoy it right now, Minutemen. CJ Hester, and they got the lead between the hedges. Back to you, Bob and Greg.
The Minutemen, are you feeling it?
Take a picture of the scoreboard. Tell your kids, hey, we had the lead between the hedges.
1st and 10 Gators. at their own 25-yard line. Play action. Lagway. He's going to take a shot, hoping for Badger. That's incomplete. Let's check in with Molly.
Bob, the message to the Rebels defense on the sideline was, hey, Florida's defense got a huge fourth down stop. They're beating you. They are the better defense so far today. You need to respond and play with more physicality to affect their quarterback more. So Ole Miss's defense challenged to make their own game-changing play. We know Pete Golding all about competing with the other team's defense on game days.
Pete Golding's going to have another injury to deal with, at least for now, as Jaden Kennedy is down, and it looks like he's got a hand behind his knee as the training staff races over to take a look at him. They're down to safety. Yam Banks had to be carted off after Badgers' touchdown opened the scoring. So for Lane Kiffin, secondary's thinning out as we look at today's college football playoff rankings, brought to you by Goodyear. Ohio State trailing IU 7-0. We've got a 7-7 tie in our game between Ole Miss and Florida. And UMass, as you said, take a picture of the score. There with Georgia. All right, now Miami has the lead on Wake Forest. It looks good, though, for Kennedy as he's able to walk off. To Booger's point, though, how much would it surprise you to hear that just from a physical standpoint, Indiana is winning the line of scrimmage against Ohio State?
It's not outrageously surprising. The one Achilles heel for Ohio State this year has been their offensive line. And Indiana's got a very aggressive group, not the biggest guys in the world, but aggressive and physical. So it's not crazy surprising they're matching up.
Draw play here. Montrell Johnson. He's able to bowling ball his way out to the 41-yard line for 16.
This becoming a theme already for Florida. Look at the numbers for Ole Miss. 1, 2, 3. You got 3 in the run game, and you're out the gate. That's the problem. Is the numbers have not been good so far for the Ole Miss Rebels, and Florida's taking advantage of it in the run game.
63 rushing yards already for the Gators. Now a seam shot. DK! It's off his fingertips. A one-handed pick possible for John Saunders. Will they give him the interception? It looks like they will. They're going to call this a pick.
And Lagway trying to sidearm it around Perkins off the hands of DK. But let's see, does it stay afloat? Wow, it looks like it does. Saunders kind of tipping it up to himself with the right hand on the logo. Does it ever touch the ground? It doesn't look like it does. And Pete Golding's defense and Lane Kiffin loving the sudden change and the tremendous play by his safety, John Saunders.
Third pick of the year for John Saunders. Tips lead to picks, and Saunders takes advantage. Terrific concentration, and he kept it off the top of the grass. Now Jackson Dart with the football near midfield. Can Ole Miss take advantage, or can the Gators get a stop after sudden change? The Gators get a tackle for loss to start the drive. Tyreek Sapp, Cam Jackson rifled through the offensive line to get the first stop. Play action. Bobbled. Caden Prescore holds onto it. Near a first down. Brought down a yard short. He's got 10. Shamar James made the stop, so it's 3rd and 1.
Another short yard situation, but this time Ole Miss not substituting, which keeps Florida's defense on the field.
So they're going with Pegues. They go with the smaller body, and getting turned back is Micah Davis by Cam Jackson. He lost a yard. Now it's 4th and 2.
Now Pegues will come on the field, and I have to wonder, is it a play late? Are you better off handing it to the running back, Micah Davis, who at 185 pounds, you think he's better at converting the short yards? I don't like it. I would have gone to Pegues a play earlier. But last time they've been trying to attack the edges of the Florida defense. They do that again, kind of follow the tackles and see if they can't run off tackle with the 300-pounder.
Well, Dart's still in there, so it doesn't look like the direct snap to Pegues. Is play action a possibility? It is. They fake it to Pegues. Dart to throw on 4th down. Floats one, and he's got it to Jordan Watkins. All the way down to the red zone on 4th and 2, and Lane Kiffin with the fist pump as play action works to perfection.
Just so savvy by Jackson Dart. They tried to throw it out in the flat, then they tried to get to the shallow. Instead, nothing's there. It's covered perfectly, but Dart makes a play, throws him open, and Kiffin, with his arms in the air, looking at his quarterback, knowing he just bailed him out of a well-defended play.
Play action again. Over the middle and stride into the end zone. Caden Lee for the Ole Miss touchdown. From 4th and 2 to pay dirt 2 days later, or 2 plays later. And Ole Miss has the lead.
And just perfect throw by Jackson Dart. You see high safeties, number 14, Castile, dropping out over the top. Lee's quickness to get inside. He throws it right between 2 zone defenders underneath. And it's a really big sequence there for Ole Miss. Turnover, sudden change, right down the field to take the lead.
So the Rebels turn the pick into 7. Terrific concentration by John Saunders Jr. He gets the takeaway. Jackson Dart takes advantage. Caden Lee, his 2nd of the season. The Rebels on top. Welcome back to the Swamp, and welcome back to the SEC on ABC. Bob Wischusen here with Greg McElroy, Molly McGrath. 2 touchdowns by Ole Miss in under 3 minutes as they answer the opening score for the Gators. Pretty good response, Greg.
Tremendous response and opportunistic. 4th down conversion again on that drive leads to another touchdown.
You can kick off your NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. with the Countdown Crew on ESPN and the app. They'll have all the early breaking stories, injury updates, and previews of each game right up to kickoff. And then cap off your NFL Week 12 with Monday Night Football on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus as well. The Ravens and Chargers, Peyton and Eli on ESPN2 as well. The Harbaugh Bowl 3.0, as it is John's offense against Jim's defense, as they are both right at the top of the league in those respective categories. Lagway, the toss on 1st down. Jaden Baugh finds a little cutback lane for about 3. Tripped up by Walter Nolan.
It's going to be really important for Florida to stay committed to the run game. Defense reeling just a little bit right now, giving up a couple big plays and a couple 4th down conversions. Now it's up to DJ Lagway to get back on track too after the inaccurate throw that led to the interception. But good news maybe for Florida. It looked like Walter Nolan, number 2 for Ole Miss, a little banged up.
Pete Golding said he's the closest he's had to Quinnen Williams since he left Alabama. Lagway up the middle. He gets sandwiched about 2.5 yards shy of the 1st down. Jared Ivey, Chris Paul Jr. were there to bring him down. So a 3rd down now and short for the Gators to try and keep this drive alive. And Nolan over on the sideline being looked at for Ole Miss. And maybe a timeout called from the sideline, it looks like, by Lane Kiffin before this 3rd down play.
It is their first. It will be 30 seconds.
Probably a good timeout there from Lane Kiffin. In a 3rd and 2 situation, Florida has been a team that likes to drop back and throw it. It's not been a team that you would think, short yardage situation, a team that leans heavily on the run. You'd think they might hand it off here, but it's actually been a team that more often than not has dropped back and thrown it. The quarterback run, also something they've used in the past as well. And on short yardage, they've looked in the direction of tight end. Arliss Boardingham would be a guy to consider here and see if you can't find him out in the flat.
I thought something Lane said earlier this week that was really interesting. He actually admitted that the bye week this past week came at the perfect time because after the win, and the kind of win it was, you were there against Georgia, said truthfully, we might not have emotionally been ready to play this game last week. Right, just to recycle the emotions and get a week of practice in. There's a big third down here. Lagway steps up in the pocket, dumps it right. He's got a first down and more. Roaming free is Badger. Well into Ole Miss territory, gets a push from behind now to the 40-yard line. He is stopped there. That's where forward progress is ruled down, but it's a gain of 27.
And a great job by Lagway moving up in the pocket and then keeping his eyes downfield. You watch Badger, who's on the left side, watch the little spin route. Badger kind of loses the defender. Lagway still keeping his eyes downfield, is able to throw just a short pass and turns into a big gain. That was an excellent conversion. I love the effort after the fact by the Florida Gator offensive line to help push a little bit further into Ole Miss territory.
Play action. And there's the shot play. Open at the goal line for Jaquavion Fraziers. There is a flag down in the secondary at about the 22-yard line.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 28. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
That's Jaden Kennedy.
Kennedy in coverage against number 17, DK. And as he goes right by him, that right arm gets up into the face mask of DK, and it draws the foul. That's a good call by the official. The poor use of technique by Kennedy, who has been penalized over and over and over again this year. And this secondary in general, tons of first downs given up because of pass interference and mistakes like that.
They dump it in the right flat. Jaden Ball finds a cutback lane in the alleyway to the end zone for a Gators touchdown. Response by the Gators to tie it up on the perfectly executed screen.
And what a call by Billy Napier. I mean, it just could not be any better. Three guys on the right side of the formation in the back end between a linebacker, a corner, and a safety. They have three blockers out in front, so it's perfect numbers. The progressive pylon cam shows the great block by Damian George, the right guard, on the secondary defender. And nothing between Baugh and the end zone as the Gators answer yet again on a perfectly timed call by Billy Napier.
So now it will be on Dart to answer as we go back and forth. True freshman to true freshman. And Damian George over on the sideline, part of the convoy for Jaden Baugh, who now has 8 touchdowns on the season, but that's his first receiving touchdown.
I'd imagine that's a pretty helpless feeling if you're Trey Washington, the safety, and you have a 345-pound man running right at you. I mean, he could block out the sun, man. I mean, that is so tough, but a terrific call and execution by the Gators. What will Ole Miss do now to answer?
They'll be starting on another touchback out of the 25-yard line. The Taco Bell Live Moss student section celebrating that last touchdown all season long. Student sections across the country are competing to be the Taco Bell Live Moss student section of the year. Download the Taco Bell app to learn more. Been a fun one so far. Bob Wischusen and Greg McElroy. Molly McGrath down on the field. Jordan Watkins in motion. Jackson Dart back to work. Swing pass dropped. It was Jordan Watkins looking upfield before he had the football. 2nd down and 10.
And the quick passing game for Ole Miss has been pretty effective up to this point of the game. You know they're going to continue to lean on it because this pass rush for Florida, that's an area in which they can win the game. They won it with the defensive line last week, and Ole Miss has lost games this year because their offensive line hasn't played well. So expect that quick passing game to continue to be utilized by Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss as offensive coordinator.
Florida brings a blitz. It's picked up. So wide open. Out on the edge is Juice Wells. 1st down and more. All the way out to midfield. He's got 25 yards. Bijan Johnson eventually made the stop.
And this is where Ole Miss loves to get you, is on the far hash. So you are as far away from your bench as humanly possible. So it's very difficult for Florida at this point to substitute. So Ole Miss will intentionally call plays, try to keep it on the left side of the field. This point forward to the end zone.
Dart well protected, floats one, drops it in, maintaining his balance was Daquan Wright, but stumbles at the 20-yard line and goes down.
Just a big-time throw by Jackson Dart, strong in the pocket, totally unfazed by the rush, throws it right on top of the defender's helmet where his big tight end could go up and grab it. Tremendous throw.
Swing pass, Daquan Wright, cut down. At about the 16-yard line by Bryce Thornton.
And that's now 2 straight plays that are going to keep that ball on the left side. Florida trying to get a substitution now by running guys on quickly, but they definitely are on their heels because Ole Miss keeping them really far from that bench on the left hash.
Ole Miss substituted, so the Gators were given a chance to substitute as well. They fake the screen. Instead, they come back to pre-score, and he couldn't hold on. So now a big play. Now you've got a 3rd down in the red zone in a tie game.
One thing Ole Miss has utilized multiple times this year when it's 3rd and medium like this, around 6-5, they'll go with the quarterback run. But when they go quarterback run, it's usually to set up 4th down. So we'll find out whether or not Lane's thinking 4-down territory here based on the play call. And if it's a run, they're probably going to go for it on 4th.
And Trey Harris is back into the top of your screen as Daquan Wright motions that way as well. Dart across his body, right at the 1st down line to gain. It's Jart free. Bijan Johnson knocked it out. Did the ball end up hitting the ground? Trey Harris is down. He was hit awkwardly and he is down.
It's a catch, and the runner was down prior to losing possession of the football.
They're going to give a catch to Trey Harris and say that he was down. I think that's going to give Ole Miss a 1st down based on the spot.
You just hate to see this. Trey Harris has been battling for 3+ weeks trying to get back. That groin has been a huge problem all year. Lands awkwardly on it. See the right hand down, knee down, and he just grabs something along the lower body. Here's the progressive pylon cam. Is any part of his body down before the ball comes out? The hand is down. Looks like the wrist is down right there, and that would be considered the same thing as a knee, but it's really, really close. So is it a wrist? Is it an elbow? Is it, oh man, I think it's a hand.
Let's bring in Bill LeMonnier. And Bill, the back of the wrist, would you say that this would qualify as a body part that would have him down?
The hand is not a body part that puts you down. I'm old school on this. He did not own that football. I have an incomplete pass.
That's fair because he's going to the ground, has to survive the ground, but right there, his hand, his wrist, it's so tough. And with it being a call on the field, Bill, of complete 1st down, down by contact, is there enough video evidence to overturn?
I believe there is.
The ruling on the field is a catch, and the runner was down prior to the ball becoming loose. The previous play is in the video review.
Now, if they stay with a catch, and as Bill is saying, if it's an incomplete pass, then 4th down, and maybe Ole Miss is trying a field goal. But if they stay with catch fumble, there was clear recovery. So Florida would then come away with the football. So a lot to unpack here by the replay booth.
Catch, no catch is always so difficult too, because Bill might see it different from you and might see it different from me. It's a matter, is it back of the hand? Is it wrist? Does he have it secured? Does he make a football move? Does he have to survive the ground? Is he going to the ground when the catch is initially made? A lot of factors that go into this decision, and a difficult one where there is some variability with how it could turn out.
And the other big concern is losing Trey Harris potentially again for Ole Miss right after you get your best skilled player back. And it's a quick review.
After video review, it is an incomplete pass. The receiver did not maintain control as he went to the ground. It will be 4th down and 6 at the 16-yard line.
So just like Bill LeMonnier, they were also old school when they went to replay.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
So that will move the line of scrimmage back to the 17-yard line, make it 4th down, and that will bring Caden Davis out to try and give Ole Miss the lead with a field goal. This will be a 34-yard attempt. He cannot hit it. The normally reliable Caden Davis at 87% on the season. Top 10 all-time in scoring at Ole Miss from only 34 yards out. He just tugged it.
Just a little bit too far to the left. He knows it immediately. That's now 2 red zone penetrations for the Ole Miss Rebels that have resulted in 0 points. I told you earlier in the show, situational football for Florida is going to be massive in this game. There's a talent advantage in favor of the Rebels, but if they can win 3rd down, if they can get off the field in the red zone, hold them to field goals, have turnovers on down in the red zone, that is enormous. So just a huge miss there by Davis, and a good stand by the Florida Gators.
Florida back to the ground. And a gang tackle after only a couple of yards. Let's go down to Molly.
Bob, one thing worth noting, Trey Harris immediately clutched the right side of his hip groin area. That was the same side where he was injured versus LSU. That right leg hip area was heavily wrapped. You have to think he re-aggravated that injury. And Rebels D lineman Walter Nolan was in visible pain while athletic training staff looked at his left hand. They immobilized that hand with a ton of tape. Greg, you have to wonder, what does that do for a D lineman when he doesn't have full use of his hand?
Yeah, that could be significant too. I mean, he is so active with his hands, and if now he can't use them with 100% availability, that'll affect his pass rush.
Jacoby Jackson, 1st down. Florida's coming up on a 100-yard rushing half. They've got 82 yards rushing in the first half against an Ole Miss team that, as you said earlier, Greg, doesn't even give up 80 yards per game. And they will stay on the ground. And this time, heading east-west was Jacoby Jackson. He paid the price when he met Trey Washington.
Also, if you're Florida, not at that point yet, we can be really mindful of the clock here. If you give it back to Ole Miss with 30 seconds or more, they can go down and execute a 2-minute drive with the tempo and pace that they operate with. So not quite to that point yet, but something to be thinking about here if they can convert here and extend the drive with another 1st down.
Lagway dancing in the pocket, flags down, and he will go down. Walter Nolan, banged up hand and all, in the backfield to get the sack, a loss of 10.
Holding. Offense, number 76. The penalty is declined. 3rd down.
They called 76, but I think it was actually on 66, Jake Slaughter, who was engaged with Nolan. And still, even in spite of holding Nolan, still was able to make the play. Was Walter Nolan, man. He is relentless with the pass rush, and these are the downs that you absolutely have to avoid if you're Florida. 3rd and long against a relentless pass rush, 46 sacks on the season. It's so hard to convert here.
And they're going to play conservatively on the ground on 3rd and 19, and getting 17 of the 19 was Montrell Johnson. Washington and Lewis Moore were there to make the stop. 4th down and about 3. And the offense, at least for the moment, staying out there for the Gators. Will they snap the ball on 4th and 3 from their own 38-yard line?
I doubt it. Try to get them to jump off sides or at least drain the clock. Surprised Ole Miss isn't taking a timeout here, save some clock.
Is this a hard count? Right now, Lane Kiffin just urging his defense from the sideline. Hold your water. And now a timeout called by Billy Napier.
Prior to the snap, timeout, Florida. It's their first. It will be 30 seconds.
Well, to your point, how quickly Ole Miss can strike. They've got 25 scoring drives this season that have gone less than 2 minutes. They've got 13 scoring drives this season that have taken less than 1 minute. So you give them the ball back anywhere north of the 2-minute timeout. Plus, if they have their timeouts and they still have a couple, that's all the time in the world Jackson Dart needs.
I think they scored 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes
in this game.
So that means they can score twice in 2 minutes and 20 seconds with how quickly they operate. But it'll be interesting here. I mean, if I'm Ole Miss, I have so much faith and confidence in Jackson Dart. Getting the ball back is massive. So I would anticipate them being super aggressive from the get-go and taking it right down the field with how he's throwing the football and seeing the defense today.
So after the hard count and the timeout, Crawshaw to punt.
Crawshaw in formation for the Gators. Davis is deep for the Rebels.
And a good kick from Crawshaw. Bounces into the end zone. This season, All-State will celebrate every field goal. An extra point made by participating universities by making a donation to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you to All-State. Crawshaw almost kicked the punt into the All-State nets. That was a nuclear kick. Comes out to the 20-yard line, so the long field is out in front of Jackson Dart, but he doesn't need much time. 2:14 on the clock at 2 timeouts. That is plenty of time for the Rebels offense.
More than enough. And the main thing here for Jackson Dart, just got to be smart with how quickly he's getting rid of the football. Don't hold it too long. Sacks will kill you here. And then, of course, understand getting the ball out in space is plenty of room to run after catch.
3-man rush, but it still gets through. Forces a check down. Catch and run for Micah Davis. Picks up a 1st down, and that should take us down to the 2-minute timeout. And it will. So we will step aside. The 2-minute timeout arrives. Tied at 14 at the Swamp.
Straight Talk. Real unlimited data.
Time now for Built for Success, presented by Ram Trucks. It's Jackson Dart. Pinpoint accuracy on some downfield throws that have led to a couple touchdowns. He's just seeing the field so well right now. Sees that the safeties just caught a little bit flat-footed over the top to Trey Harris. And then a couple moments later, sees the pressure off the right-hand side, sees the separation of the safeties and the zone coverage behind it. He hits Caden Lee over the middle for another touchdown. Just a red-hot start for Jackson Dart. 14-19, 230 and 2 touchdowns. Has him just 143 yards away from passing Eli Manning on the all-time passing list at Ole Miss.
Flags down. So Jackson Dart closing in on Eli Manning's all-time Ole Miss passing yards record. And he could easily eclipse that record during this game. He's got 5 more yards to cover now after a false start, makes it 1st and 15. Four-man rush. Bullets one to the sideline. In and out of the hands of Jordan Watkins. No Trey Harris again in the locker room. As Molly told you, re-aggravating that same injury. It looks like that cost him 3.5 games. Dart over the middle, incomplete, flag thrown from the secondary. Caden Lee was bumped, looked like well before the ball arrived. So this will give Ole Miss a first down.
Jordan Castile.
Pass interference, defense, number 14. The ball be placed at the spot of the foul, first down.
Just way too early as Lee was trying to come across. Look, I mean, he arrives a half second before the ball gets there. An obvious call from the back judge and a good call too, with the poor timing used there by Castile.
This time the low throw is scooped up by Jordan Watkins. It's brought down by Bridges. Inbounds. 8 of 7. Clock moves. Again, 2 timeouts still for Ole Miss. And they are built for speed on offense.
A lot of the coverage so far on this drive is just trying to keep it in front of you if you're Florida, not allowing the big play.
Gators again rush 4. That's batted down at the line, and the ball emerges. So it is an incomplete pass. Cam Jackson lost his helmet, so he has to come out for a play. 3rd down and 3. Closer to a long 2.
If I'm Jackson Dart, I'm looking down here at Watkins. He'd be my go-to guy at short yardage.
A 3-man rush. Swing pass out to Micah Davis. Brought down shy of the line to gain. Sharif Denson tripped him up at least 2 yards short. It's 4th down.
Florida needs to call a timeout now. They will, to see if they can't preserve some time for their own 2-minute operation.
It's their second. It will be 30 seconds.
The question is, when we come back, will Ole Miss go for it or punt after we check in with Kevin?
Bob, Capital One halftime report minutes away with Booger McFarland. We're checking in on Ohio State and Indiana. Buckeyes with a touchdown lead. A lot of momentum swings, as well as Georgia just taking the lead against UMass. What are you seeing in this game? Why is it tied up at 14?
Well, Ole Miss is not capitalized. They're moving the ball. They're outgaining Florida in yardage, but they're making some mistakes and not capitalizing when they have the opportunity. And Florida's being opportunistic with their chances.
All right, we'll see you guys at the half. Back to you at the Swamp.
All right, Kevin, and it does look like Florida will get one more opportunity with the football, as not taking any chances is Lane Kiffin. He will send out Frazier Mazin to punt, and Jim Dike is back to receive. So the Gators still have a timeout and well over a minute on the clock.
Don't jump off sides if you're the Florida defense.
Dike lets it bounce and it spins back. Well executed. 43-yard punt. Bob Wischusen in here with Greg McElroy, and Molly McGrath is with us as well. Anything about this game surprise you in terms, maybe physically, how well the Gators have played?
Yeah, Gators have done a good job, especially as the field condensed, and when Ole Miss been able to move it in the red zone, they've gotten the field not once but twice. So that's been significant. But the big thing too is Ole Miss is going to have to find a little something in the run game. So far, just 35 yards rushing. They're well over 200 yards passing. Finding a little more balance will be beneficial long term. And the other thing too, if you're Florida, they haven't really been able to manufacture the downfield throws that Lagway has made a living throwing this season. So at some point, they're going to have to get aggressive. But clearly, the pass rush of Ole Miss has been problematic so far.
Montrell Johnson thrown back after a gain of 4. Wrapped up by Walter Nolan.
I like the decision here from Billy Napier. You have a quarterback that the true freshman has thrown an interception earlier in the ball game on an errant throw and an accurate throw. We don't see that very often from Lagway. He plays a very mature brand of football. But when you have poor field position, really no need to take unnecessary risks. So run it a couple times. If you pop it, then you can get in your 2-minute operation, but no rush to get there.
And the Gators start the third quarter with the ball as well. They keep it on the ground. And down goes Johnson near the line of scrimmage. And now Lane Kiffin will spend a timeout with 21 seconds. They still have a timeout remaining as well, so they could put Florida in a position where they would at least have to punt. As we take a look at our All-State playoff predictor. How important is this game for Ole Miss? Well, I mean, it almost feels like you could take it to 84% with a win, 0% with a loss, right? I mean, they are playing playoff football the rest of the way.
Now, I don't see a scenario where they lose, they get in. I just don't see it. So I think that 4 is definitely 0. Now, with a win, could things happen in front of them? Potentially, if Texas were to lose or if A&M were to jump up, what have you. But I think Lane Kiffin knows if they just win out, they're in full control of their own destiny. The big question is, will they get a home playoff game or they have to go on the road in the first round? That's, I think, what they're chasing right now.
Well, don't forget, go to ESPN.com/All-State Playoff Predictor, and you can check out your team's chances to make the college football playoff. Keep it on the ground. Montrell Johnson picks up the first down. So that will allow Florida to get to the locker room at halftime without worrying about Ole Miss and their timeout. They're going to try and run it, I guess, again quickly here. Lagway's going to spike it. It's only 11 seconds to go, and they've got 1 timeout. So not really sure what the strategy here is other than to get to the locker room at halftime. They'll put 13 seconds now on the clock.
I think if you can you have that 1 timeout. So if you can get it to around the 40-yard line, the plus 40, you might have a chance to go for a long field goal. So I imagine that's the thought process. But man, just be super careful if you're DJ Lagway. This pass rushing unit for Ole Miss is relentless. And right now they have that group on the field. Suntaran Perkins, number 4, number 1, Prince Uman-Mielen. I mean, dropping back and holding it for a long time is a bad recipe.
They're going to run it again. Montrell Johnson bumped out of bounds. 8 seconds to go in the half.
I don't often see him spike it to run stretch. How often have we seen that? I mean, if nothing else, I mean, the interesting part about it is they did run it right at their former teammate, Prince Uman-Mielen, number 1. Maybe just making him defend the run a little bit more here.
The other thing they've done here is if this play doesn't take 8 seconds, they put themselves back in the same situation where Ole Miss could call a timeout and force them to run a 4th down play. And now a flag thrown from the secondary for delay of game.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
And if you're Florida, I'm not sure really what the strategy here is other than eat up 8 seconds with this play and get to the locker room and start the 3rd quarter with the ball.
So there are mechanics, though, that you can use as an offense where you hand it off here. Ole Miss will call timeout, and there'll be 3, maybe 4 seconds left on the clock. And your quarterback can drop back, throw it as high as he possibly can out of bounds, and then that would extinguish the first half. But he might have just gotten the first down, maybe just a hair short.
As long as Lane Kiffin doesn't call a timeout here, and he won't, that ends the half, and we are tied at 14. A lot of momentum swings in that first half, and we end up right back where we started, as we will have a fresh football game with 30 minutes on the clock to start the second half. Let's head down to Molly.
Coach, what can you tell us about the injury and availability of wide receiver Trey Harris?
Well, I don't know any more than you do. It looked pretty bad. So we got to have other guys make plays, and we've been doing that for 4 games without them. We got to tackle this quarterback. Their quarterback's, making huge plays off rhythm, and we told him coming in, we got to tackle him really well, and the guys made a lot of plays to keep this game where it's at, and we missed a field goal.
How do you get more going in the run game?
Yeah, we're just going to have to continue to hit some things, and they're loosening up, and it'll be there. But both quarterbacks are playing really good. We just missed a field goal there, and got to finish drives better.
All right, thanks, Coach. Bob.
Tied at 14 at halftime between Ole Miss and the Gators. We will send you to the studio for the Capital One halftime report after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Gainesville and the SEC on ABC. You're watching ESPN College Football on ABC, presented by Tums Gummy Bites. Set for the start of the 3rd quarter. We are tied at 14 between Ole Miss and the Gators. 120 yards rushing for Florida in the first half. Ole Miss usually only allows about 80 yards rushing per game. Bob Wischusen here with Greg McElroy. Molly McGrath is with us as well. Physicality was really the story in the first half for the Gators, keeping this game close. But Lane Kiffin mentioned it to Molly going in at halftime. There were some missed opportunities for Ole Miss in the red zone, missed a field goal, left some points on the field.
Yeah, it's really been situational football. That's why this game's tied. I mean, if you look at what Ole Miss has done, they've moved the ball between the 20s, but 2 red zone possessions, 0 points to show for it, and 1 for 7 on 3rd down, 2 for 4 on 4th down. So they have not been very good situationally. Got to clean that up. And for Florida, they're running the ball really well. But when are they going to hit the big shot down the field? That's been a staple of their offense, and they haven't really had many opportunities to push it downfield so far today.
Gators will start off the touchback to begin the 3rd quarter. Down to Molly.
Well, yeah, Greg, that's exactly what I talked to Florida head coach Billy Napier about. He said he wants to set the tone for the second half with this first offensive possession by continuing to run the ball effectively. He said we need to stay out of 3rd and longs and obvious passing situations, but we are just a couple plays away from breaking this thing open. He's really, really impressed with quarterback DJ Lagway's performance and his message to Lagway in the locker room. This week you worked hard to earn the right to win this game. Now go out and do it. He stressed Lagway needs to be special for them to win this one.
Well, DJ Lagway went to Billy Napier and the coaches after the Texas lost a couple of weeks ago and said, against LSU, I'm playing. Right? Injured hamstring or no injured hamstring, I'm playing. And he played well last week, and here he is in the pocket and going down to start the 3rd quarter this week. Walter Nolan and the old Gator, Princely Umanmielen, meet at the quarterback for a loss of 6.
And this is just Lagway kind of showing his inexperience because he has number 11, Aiden Mizell, wide open in the middle of the field. I mean, putting his arm up, he's wide open, throw it to him. Instead, Lagway's hung on the right side of the formation trying to create a big play. He's got to get off of it because there was an opportunity there to make a completion and not accept the sack.
2nd and long run to Jaden Baugh, flag down. He gets to the edge and gets the sack yardage back, plus a couple. But an offensive backfield flag, it's coming back.
Holding. Offense, number 70. The penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal from the previous spot. Remains 2nd down.
That's Damian George called for the hold. So now the Gators are really pinned back, 2nd down and long.
Yeah, not good here starting out for Florida. Try to take a shot on 1st down. Quarterback hangs on the 1st and 2nd progression way too long. Take a sack, you're way behind, and you have a nice run play that's now negated by another holding penalty. So got to calm things down a little bit for your young quarterback and a young team. See if they just get back to business, run the football, and see if you can't make this 3rd down a little more manageable.
At the mesh point, that play blown up by Nolan.
And Walter Nolan just teeing off against the center Slaughter. Goes right around him and drops Baugh in the backfield. So far, a couple plays into this 2nd half, and this Ole Miss defensive line starting to tee off.
Third and forever. segue back from his end zone. Sidearms one. DK at least buys the punt group some real estate. Out to the 19-yard line.
Not a good drive at all from the Florida Gators. I mean, self-inflicted mistakes. Young quarterback trying to do a little too much, trying to make a play, takes an unnecessary sack. Young offensive line holding back in their own end zone, forcing your young quarterback to drop into his own end zone. But on the other sideline, Ole Miss, I don't know if you could draw up a better start. Couple sacks, couple tackles for loss, and applying the pressure with the defensive line that was a little quiet early on, but clearly answering the challenge after giving up 120 first half rushing yards.
Jeremy Crawshaw is the NCAA active leader in career punting yards. He can change field position, barely got that one off. And he didn't do much, but it's muffed! The Gators have a takeaway on special teams as Micah Davis coughed it up. DJ Douglas, opportunistic on the loose football.
And this sun is so brutal. Look at the shadow behind Davis. He's looking right at it. And that punt was so high off the foot of Crawshaw. Can't really secure it. As a result, the Gators are right on it, but you gotta think the sun was a huge factor in him not being able to locate that football, resulting in the muff and the huge, huge play for Florida. And now with new life and plus territory, let's see if they go back to the well and throw a shot play downfield.
Ole Miss got a takeaway, and that resulted in what turned out to be the tying touchdown for the Rebels in the first half. Turnabout fair play as the Gators get a takeaway. They've got the short field. Jacoby Jackson is tied up by Umanmielen. A gain of maybe a yard and a half. And things getting a little chippy out there now, pushing and shoving after the play was over as Chris Paul Jr. Umanmielen involved as well.
Really watch too these two teams. Umanmielen, his Florida Gator teammates from a year ago, they're very aware of where he's going to be. They want to make him feel regret for having left the Gators, and him kind of at the start of that, well, after the whistle curricular, not surprising.
Tunnel screen knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Walter Nolan is everywhere.
And he comes all the way from the backside, Walter Nolan does, all the way through it, and is somehow able to get that left arm and tip the pass to set up 3rd and long. Just a great job by Walter Nolan here starting the second half.
What a luxury it must be for Pete Golding to get this type of activity and pressure, only needing to send 4 guys over and over again.
Definitely a blessing, but Badger's the go-to guy on 3rd down. Let's see if they look in his direction.
They try to set the screen up to DK. He's brought down for a loss. Kennedy came right up and made an ankle tackle. And now what do you do on 4th down? This is a long field goal attempt for Trey Smack if you try it. And it looks like they may. It's 4th and long, so this is a sizable go-for-it situation. 53-yard field goal is no gimme, but Trey Smack has this range. His career long is 55. He did that earlier. He did that last week, as a matter of fact, against LSU. To try and give the Gators the lead. He's got it, and then some. Clutch kick from Trey Smack. Florida's got the lead as they turn the takeaway into 3.
Live Tuesday.
Kevin Nagani back in studio. How about number 10, Georgia, struggling their defense against UMass's run game? Jalen John going in for the score again. The Minutemen, 42.5-point dogs, now within 1 score after that touchdown. Carson Beck to Arian Smith here. That'll double up the score. 28-14 right now. Georgia on top at the half. SEC Network back to Bob, Greg, and Molly.
And also Phil Dean, our producer. The Minuteman alum. Is he believing?
I'm about to say we have a UMass alum in the producer chair and an Ohio State fan in the director chair with Scott Johnson.
All right, well, Phil calms down in the truck. We'll go down to Molly.
Well, Bob, Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris is ruled out for the rest of the game with a lower body injury. He's still back in the locker room. We saw him grab the right side of his hip groin area, which was previously injured, so it looks to be a re-aggravation of that previous injury that kept him out for 3.5 games, guys.
Look at Jackson Dart realizing that it might be the same injury to his #1 target. I guess the blessing in disguise here, of course, for Ole Miss is unlike when they lost Trey Harris the first time and wondered how their offense would function. They go right back to what they've been doing, Greg, over the last month or so without him. And they'll run it on first down. Jack Pyburn was ready as Micah Davis was tackled behind the line of scrimmage, and there is Trey Harris, so he is obviously done for the day at least. The #1 receiver in America.
Just hate to see that too, and such a physically imposing wide receiver on the perimeter.
Play action. Dart steps up, finds a lane right up the hash marks for a first down. We're wondering about his mobility, and when he has needed to scramble today, he's looked pretty good doing it. 20 yards.
Doesn't look like there's any limitations at all. I mean, that probably was as fast as he's looked in several weeks. That left ankle injured in the Georgia game on the second offensive snap, clearly not having a huge effect on how he's running the football.
Dart avoids another sack. Out of the pocket, scrambling, hit from behind, lassoed down near midfield. Jaden Robinson brought him down, and Jackson Dart's helmet popped off. If no penalties called, he's going to have to leave the field. And Austin Simmons has to come in.
We've seen Austin Simmons in critical moments in the season before, though. So if you think the backup quarterback's going to come in and just hand it off, think again. Is a young man the staff has tremendous faith in, especially after the drive he led down the field against Georgia for a touchdown.
We'll run it here. He came in cold, so they didn't want him to throw the ball, but they were able to make it 3rd down and 1, and a quick exchange as Simmons goes out, Dart right back in. But you're right, that drive that he led after Dart got hurt, an answer touchdown drive against Georgia that you don't want to blow one drive out of proportion, but that might have been a tone-setting, almost season-saving drive for a backup quarterback in a game like that.
It was amazing. I mean, that young man has a remarkably bright future, and looking forward to seeing him get the chance to compete for the starting job when Jackson Dart departs.
Pegues on 3rd down, spinning, 1st down and more. Pile drives his way to the Gators' 41-yard line.
That's what I want to see from Pegues, and what I want to see from Ole Miss in short yardage, man. Like, they sometimes try to get too cute. They try to get receivers to block and quarterbacks to block. Like, just take the 300-pounder and run him right between the guards and see if his momentum can't surge him beyond the line to gain.
An injured offensive lineman. So we will step aside and come right back.
College football, presented by Tums Gummy Bites, is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Two coaches that know each other well, and Lane Kiffin was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator in Tuscaloosa, shaking hands with his old wide receivers coach, Billy Napier, as they were on the Alabama coaching staff together. There's Micah Pettis. He was the injured offensive lineman for Ole Miss. Looked like he just got run up upon by J.J. Pegues on the short 3rd down run. He's on the bike over on the sideline. And it's been a bit of a carousel on the offensive line for Ole Miss. They get Jaden Williams back. That has helped provide some depth. As Diego Pounds as well is now able to slide over and play for Pettis. Dart back to throw. Long throw outside the numbers. And he has Jordan Watkins. A gain of 7.
Jackson Dart's been really accurate today, especially on some of these underneath throws. Well-timed, accurate throws that are very difficult to cover.
Looks like forward progress is there for the 1st down. Jaden Robinson Tried to drive back Micah Davis, but looks like Ole Miss, yes, indeed, they have moved the chains. How prepared now is this Ole Miss offense for the absence of Trey Harris?
This is where you would love to have him, where a big body wide receiver, especially in the absence of a real reliable run game, having a big body wide receiver is huge. So when the field starts to condense and we're not quite to the red area yet, those tight ends and those tall receivers become matchup nightmares. But without Trey Harris, his absence is going to be felt more in the red zone than in the field.
Prieskorn in the slot right. He runs the seam. Dart goes the other way. He's going to take a shot to the end zone. And it's incomplete. He wanted Juice Wells. Pretty good coverage. Dijon Johnson. 2nd down and 10.
Also a spot, too, if you're thinking defensively, this is where defenses usually get pretty aggressive. So if I'm Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, the offensive brain trust for the Ole Miss Rebels, need to make sure my protection is sound, because blitzes usually come in this part of the field because the defense is trying to knock you out of field goal range. Let's see if Ron Roberts, the DC for Florida, decides to heat him up at some point in the next 2 drives.
Delayed blitz. Double clutch. There's Prieskorn. 1st down, right on the doorstep of the red zone. He's got it at the 19-yard line.
Where Ole Miss has had some problems today in the red zone, 0 for 2, scoring touchdowns. Have to be really sharp, get the ball out quickly, and just try to be a little bit more balanced with what they're calling offensively. Try to run the football here, even though Florida's likely going to sell out against the run.
Dominique Thomas in the game as the tailback now. Play action instead for Dart. He wants the one-on-one again at the pylon. And it's incomplete again for Juice Wells.
And this is a really well-thrown ball by Jackson Dart. Juice Wells is trying to win over the top, but look at how the throw is stopping Wells in a perfect spot. If he puts 2 hands up, he makes the catch. Instead, he tries to reel it in with one, and it's incomplete. This poor job there by the wide receiver.
Watkins in motion. Dart looks that way. He wants Watkins. Through his hands and incomplete. 3rd down and 10.
Just a little bit high. That's a long throw from Jackson Dart. Just a little bit high. Watkins can't reel it in. The big body Trey Harris, who's injured looking on, probably would have caught that ball with a few more inches on Watkins. But here, let's see if Florida brings some pressure. This is what Florida does. They get 3 defensive linemen on the left side of the center, and they try to feature number 34, George Gums. He's their pass rusher. Let's see if he can get home.
Play clock winding down. They get it off. Dart out of the pocket. He's got room to run. He'll tuck it under. Cut back. Short. At the 10-yard line, he picked up 9. Lane Kiffin has 4th down and 1 at the 10-yard line. The decision, and another helmet off for Jackson Dart. That's going to put Austin Simmons back in. You know what it's going to do? It's going to put J.J. Pegues in.
And they've had some frustration already. 4th down conversions, they've converted 2, they've led to touchdowns. They've gotten cute on 4th and short already, where they try to run it off tackle. Take Pegues, run him right up the middle at 330 pounds, and see if things can stop. You got big Desmond Watson at 455. I'll raise your 330 right in the middle of the defense.
With the swamp thundering down, 4th down and 1. Pegues. Driven back. He didn't get there. Another turnover on downs for Ole Miss as Pegues is stopped by Cam Jackson.
And Cam Jackson, just a tremendous job. The right tackle, Pettis, right there as well. He reels to the outside. He's got some help from Miles Graham, number 5, the freshman. And they stop Pegues again. Another big play by Florida's defensive front. That's now 3 4th down and shorts where they've dropped J.J. Pegues. And yet again, Ole Miss trying to go off tackle. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
And Reese McIntyre, the starting center, is hurt for Ole Miss.
On ABC.
Another missed fourth down opportunity for J.J. Pegues, frustrated on the sideline. Takeaway on downs for the Gators. And a third red zone trip without a touchdown in this game for Ole Miss. They fake the jet sweep. And it's a dive ahead for a yard for Florida to their 11-yard line. So Taryn Perkins on the stop of Montrell Johnson.
And if Ole Miss loses this game, they're going to be able to look back at those critical fourth down stops that Florida's defense made on J.J. Pegues. I think it has a lot to do with how they're attacking the edges of the defense as opposed to surging right up the middle. And it's just, I just don't understand the design. It's been stopped 3 times on basically the exact same play.
Lagway steps up in the pocket, wobbly pass, as it may have been tipped. Third down and long from the 11-yard line.
The second half has been bad news bears for the Florida Gator offense. I mean, they have not really been in any good situations for Billy Napier. And on third and long right here, Elijah Badger is their go-to guy. I mean, he's the guy that they normally target in these third down situations. He's got great speed. He can threaten the defense vertical, and he's lined up down here. If you get one-on-one, you want to look in the direction of Badger.
Lagway out of the pocket, in trouble, and down he goes. Flag thrown from behind the play in the end zone as well. Taryn Perkins, top 10 in the SEC in sacks.
Holding. Offense. Number 58. The penalty is declined. Fourth down.
Perkins gets his 11th, second best in the league.
And Lagway was trying to work Badger against Trey Amos. It's a big-time matchup, but watch how Amos wins here. Left arm stab. Badger can't even get off the ball hardly. Lagway, meanwhile, is sitting back there waiting for his receiver to uncover, and there's absolutely nothing he can do but just take the sack. That's tremendous coverage by Amos to eliminate the third down target and not give the quarterback any chance.
Think about the 3 series that this defense for Ole Miss has played in this quarter. Yeah. Sudden change after the muff punt and the 2 stops where they forced Florida backwards. Ole Miss's defense has dominated this quarter, and yet they still find themselves behind. And now Jordan Watkins will let this one bounce. Great field position here. Can they do something with it? They've been stopped on short yardage.
And it's been a killer so far. It was early in the game. They had Jackson Dart in for whatever reason as like a fullback. They try to run Pegues off tackle. Why? Why? Here he does it again. Same thing. Don't hit it there. Hit it there and tell me you can stop a 330-pound man. I don't understand why they're trying to get a 325-pounder to the edge, surge him up the middle, and I don't think any defensive line can stop it. I know they're big. I know Florida's physical, but run him right between the guards and you got the first down more than likely. Instead, they're going to the edges, and Florida's athleticism is making the play.
Only needed a yard. Well, they've got great field position at midfield here. Micah Davis, speed to the edge, flag thrown from behind the play. Jackson Dart can't believe it, but it's coming back. Holding will be the call.
Holding. Offense, number 61. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains first
Let's
down.
go down to Molly.
Yeah, center Reese McIntyre hobbled off, went to Ole Miss's injury tent. He came to the sideline, tried to practice blocking, and shook his head, saying he can't plant on his right foot. So he went back to the locker room for further evaluation, guys.
That's a big loss, too, and has been the mainstay there in the middle of the offensive line. So now they'll slide the starting right guard, Jerquan Scott, a transfer down. And he's the man. He's a very good player, but much more comfortable at guard than he is at center.
First and 20. Floating pass, finding the soft spot to Caden Lee. Beautiful throw from Jackson Dart.
What a great throw there by Jackson Dart. Just unbelievable timing with when he released that football.
Four-man rush. Dart has all day. Out of the pocket, extending the play. He's going to run. Lowers his shoulders and takes on Triquez Bridges. Delivered the blow and got a few extra yards out of it. 8 yards in all.
Jackson Dart's always been so tough. But man, even by his standards, I mean, lowering his shoulder there, taking on a converted safety is no easy task.
They'll run it here with Dominique Thomas. He gets the first down. And with what's going on at the Horseshoe, you know, if you are Ole Miss or Tennessee in this league, if you're an SMU, say, for instance, in the ACC, Ohio State is doing exactly what you needed Ohio State to do against Indiana. But can Ole Miss take advantage and pull this one out? Backpedaling is done. Steps up and goes down. That time he couldn't get away from Caleb Banks. TJ Searcy there as well, a 6-yard sack.
And just a great job right up the middle by Caleb Banks, working against Jerquan Scott. Remember, Reese McIntyre, the starting center, just walked off and into the locker room a moment ago. So the right guard sliding down to an unnatural position, and Banks, in a very, very aggressive and athletic pass rusher up the middle, walks him right back into Dart's lap and drops him for the sack.
Down to the 25-yard line goes Watkins. Sharif Denson brings him down. That makes it 3rd and manageable. 3rd and 7.
3rd and 7 is usually down in distance for Ole Miss, where they look in the direction of the tight ends. So Priestcorn or Wright, those are the guys that get the most looks here in 3rd down situation. Priestcorn's lined up right here on the F of Florida. See if they look him in a matchup situation.
Only a 4-man rush. Dart still flushed out of the pocket. Floats one to the sideline, and now it's 4th down. Ole Miss is 2 for 10 on 3rd down in this game. And it looks like they will send Caden Davis out to try and tie it. He missed from short range earlier. Only 34 yards out, a miss. This one will be from 42, it appears. So a big kick here for the senior. Number 1 in the SEC and number 3 in FBS. He averages 2 made field goals per game. Got it. Redemption inside the right upright for Caden Davis. And once again, we are tied late 3rd quarter here at the Swamp. Terrific game between Florida and Ole Miss. Boy, with what's going on at the Horseshoe, with what's happening here, you're going to be a part of it on Tuesday night. What will the rankings look like? We're going to have the exclusive reveal of the next college football playoff top 25 rankings. Reese, Greg, and the rest of the guys will break it down and react when the 12-team field, plus our weekly live interview with the committee chairman, Michigan AD Ward Manuel, all comes your way at 8 Eastern on ESPN and the app on Tuesday night. This is how it stands now, Greg, but how much change will there be on Tuesday night?
And how far, in the event in which things hold up there in Columbus, how far will Indiana fall? That's the big question. And another one, too, right now, number 8, Miami, right? Not exactly pulling away from Wake Forest. And
right.
Miami needs to win to get to the ACC championship game. And, of course, the ACC championship game likely a win and in situation, obviously, for the Canes. So very, very interesting scenario possibly unfolding in the ACC as well.
We are tied at 17. Of course, the next game up, Quinn Ewers, number 6 on the big board as far as quarterback prospects are concerned for Mel Kiper. The Horns set to take on the Wildcats. Kentucky and Texas, game 2 of our SEC on ABC triple header presented by Tums Gummy Bites. That's coming up next.
How great is the SEC right now. I mean, it's just any week, you just never know. It's so good. It's as close to the NFL as far as parity as you'll find in anywhere. It's just amazing right now.
I described it this way. I think I said it to Josh Heupel. It's the NFL with college football helmets, basically, right? I mean, you can coach your rear end off in this league and lose 3 or 4 games because it feels like so many of these games are one-score games going to the fourth quarter.
So many of them. And it comes down, and like we've talked about already for Ole Miss, like the NFL, it comes down to situational awareness and winning key situations. So settling for field goals as opposed to touchdowns in the red zone, having turnovers on downs, and obviously bad third down performance. That's what wins and loses games in the SEC. The margins are just so slim.
Much like many games in the SEC, we will head tied to the fourth quarter. ESPN's presentation of college football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Coach, what do you need to see from your offense in critical situations, especially third and fourth downs in this final quarter?
Well, we've had some plays to make there. We had the post corner down there, barely missed it. So, you know, we've really left 2 fourth downs we haven't converted inside the red zone and missed a field goal, and we're in a tie game going to the fourth quarter. So let's go finish those drives and continue to play defense like we have in the third quarter here.
All right, thanks, Coach.
To Lane Kiffin's point, Florida, 3 possessions in the third quarter. They gained 4 total yards, Greg, against this Ole Miss defense.
And negative 9 yards rushing. Really impressive.
I'm going to try and start off the fourth quarter. And they will on the grounds. Jaden Baugh. He just gained more yards on that play than they did in the entire third quarter. Kennedy on the stop. Close to a first down.
They just really haven't had many opportunities here in the second half. I mean, they've gotten off to really bad starts on all of their drives. First down's been either a negative play or an incompletion. They got to be more efficient on first and second down to avoid the third and longs.
Ball again. He's got the first down, and he breaks across the 40. Tripped up at the 43-yard line. Nearly broke free. Lewis Moore was the last line of defense.
I think Florida's going to continue to lean on that run game, take the pressure off their young quarterback. Unbalanced line where the left tackle is actually moved over to the right side of the line here. So anticipate run here again.
And they run that way. And those numbers create an advantage for Jaden Baugh. Rumanielen bumped him out. He picked up 4, maybe 4.5. Baugh across midfield. I'm talking to Russ Callaway, the offensive coordinator, yesterday as well, about calling plays, and this run game now up to 134 yards for the Gators. You can shorten the game. That also has to help your defense against the pace that Ole Miss offense plays with, right? I mean, it's got to complement your defense, giving them a little bit of a rest on the sideline.
Very much so, and it leads to the other offense usually feeling a little impatient because of the keep away. So here, 3rd and 2, big third down, and anticipate a handoff here.
It's been all runs on this drive so far. They keep it going, and Ole Miss gets the stop on 3rd down. Lewis Moore was up at the line of scrimmage at Jaden Baugh. Had to jump cut with nowhere to go, and now it's a 4th down decision at midfield for Billy Napier.
And a massive decision. Billy Napier, not a guy that has been overly aggressive as it relates to 4th down. Does lean on analytics some, but just 20% go for it. And then in plus territory, which they barely are here at the plus 49, just 33%. That's 81st in college football without Lagway's legs. Man, I don't know if I love it here.
Our analytics say go. They line up to go. Will they snap it? Is it a hard count? Play clock down to 0. There's a flag. I'm not sure they called timeout from the sideline to avoid delay of game. Let's see. They did not.
Game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 4
They lined up. They tried the hard count. Ole Miss held their water. And now they will punt.
I know that it's much to the chagrin of all the Gator faithful here in the stadium. I think it's the right call. I mean, the defense has played pretty well. They've done a decent job of being able to affect the quarterback, Jackson Dart, a little bit. But I think 4th and 2 against one of the best run defenses of the country is a tall task when they've been so good against the run here in the second half.
With special teams analyst Joe Houston, after working with the Patriots being added to the coaching staff for the Gators, their special teams has been terrific. Jordan Watkins, fair catch at the 9-yard line. There is the kind of field position change they can count on. This is the SEC on ABC. You're watching ESPN College Football on ABC. Presented by Tums Gummy Bites.
Finale, live Tuesday.
Today, he takes his place alongside his fellow legends of Syracuse University athletics, where the name of the great legendary coach Dick McPherson will forever be in the Ring of Honor.
Well, I'm Bob Wischusen, and it's been a blast today filling in for Sean McDonough because he had an opportunity to be up at his alma mater as the legendary head coach Dick McPherson inducted, well earned, into the Cuse Ring of Honor at the Dome, and Sean was able to be there to lead the induction ceremony. And that gave me a chance to be here today alongside Greg McElroy and with Molly McGrath for the SEC on ABC matchup between Ole Miss and Florida. Gain of 2 to start this drive for Ole Miss inside their own 10-yard line. 2nd down and 8. And this game deadlocked at 17 as we come up on 11 minutes to go as Jackson Dart, he started off hot, had a bit of a struggle since, and this Ole Miss offense has missed scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They've made 3 trips, and they have not found the end zone in any of those 3 trips.
And Florida just begging Ole Miss to run the football.
They will oblige. Broken tackle. Micah Davis, big contact at the 15-yard line. Bryce Thornton lowered the boom, and Davis got to the 16-yard line. 3rd down and a couple. And now Bryce Thornton, after that major collision, goes down.
Just a big hit on the perimeter. Davis and the injured Thornton colliding. That left shoulder helmet area of Thornton, man, just a big physical stop. Just hope that Thornton's okay, but man, that was a big, big collision. And another short yardage situation for Ole Miss. This has been a house of horrors for the Rebels so far today on short yardage. They have really struggled. J.J. Pegues, that's the package that they've leaned on all season long. Today he's been stopped 3 times on 4th and short. So here, with a more traditional set, will they be able to pick it up?
2 for 10 on 3rd down. Dart buried in the backfield. Caleb Banks didn't fall for the fake. And it looks like it's going to be a 3 and out for Ole Miss. That'll take us under 10 minutes to go.
And great job by Banks against the left guard, Kaleppo. And I'm not sure what Kaleppo was thinking. I don't know why he stepped so wide and allowed Banks to run right inside him. Kaleppo way too far out to the left, which allows Banks to go around and drop Jackson Dart for another tackle for loss. Another big mistake on short yardage for Ole Miss leads to another punt.
It's their first 3 and out. And Mazin, boy, what a kick from his end zone. Puts it up the sideline. DK couldn't field it. It took a bit of a Gators hop, but it's still a 54-yard punt with no return. That is a field position changing punt.
Ole Miss is so talented. I mean, really the only way to beat them is for them to beat themselves, and they have several times today. Really poor job on short yards where they tackle for 4th and 1. Then they miss a field goal a little bit later. Over 2 in the red zone there. They muff the punt. The Gators paid it off a few plays later with the field goal of their own. They don't run it up inside. Instead, they go back off tackle. And Pegues is dropped again behind the line of scrimmage. 0 for 3 in the red zone. Is a big reason why this game is tied at 17. And the short yardage miscues for Ole Miss. They're going to be kicking themselves for the whole offseason if they lose this game because of those plays.
Lagway looking back. He's going to take a shot for DK. Lays out and makes the catch. Chin DK to the 26-yard line of the Rebels.
And a great job by DK. Watch how he sets up the defender. Looks his head to the outside. Fakes like he's going to run a corner. Crosses face of the defensive back. That's so tough for the DB Lewis Moore to be able to stay on top of the big post with a guy running at full speed. It's a perfect route and a perfect throw. And a big play finally for the Florida Gators.
41 yards in all. Gators in business. Montrell Johnson right up the gut. Inside the 15. 12 more for Florida.
Running right at the defensive tackle, Walter Nolan. He's had such a big impact on the game, but this time, nothing that he can do. He's double teamed. Johnson runs right behind him between the left guard and the center. Gets up to the second level, and all Lane Kiffin can do is look on, knowing that this playoff spot could evaporate if his defense can't get off the field here.
They need a red zone stop as we approach the midway point of the fourth quarter. If not a takeaway, Ole Miss needs to hold to a field goal. They fake the jet sweep, and instead diving down to about the 8-yard line as Johnson tripped up by Jared Ivey.
Just can't imagine right now at this point Billy Napier abandoning the run game. I mean, for the first time here in the second half, it feels like Ole Miss's defense is really on their heels against the run. This offensive line starting to really move some people off the ball, but an injured player now, Damian George, the right guard, is going to need to be tended to. That's potentially a big loss.
So Damian George is down, and we will step aside. Crunch time here at the Swamp. We'll return in a moment.
Even with my mom's Alzheimer's, we've still been close. But when she developed agitation that may happen with NCAA.
ABC College Football is presented by Tums Gummy Bites. Get fast relief of occasional heartburn. Use as directed.
Welcome back to the SEC on ABC. Midway through the fourth quarter. Bob Wischusen alongside Greg McElroy. Molly McGrath is with us as well. Jackson Dart, when he gets the football back, is he hoping for a drive to tie? Or is he hoping for a drive to take the lead? It all depends on what happens in this next series of downs. Can Ole Miss hold to a field goal, maybe get a takeaway? Or will the Gators do what Ole Miss has not been able to do, Greg, and that is score 7 in the red zone? And Montrell Johnson lines up to take the direct snap. DK in motion. They go Wildcat. Montrell Johnson to the 5. End zone. Gators touchdown.
What a play. You run to the bubble, you give the defense trouble, and this time they go with a picture-perfect power out of Wildcat. Big number 77, Harris, gets out and around, blocks Daughtery, the linebacker, set up perfectly by Johnson by being a little bit hesitant before he hits the hole, allows the block to develop and allows the red sea to part. There's nothing behind him, between him and the end zone, and the Gators take the lead on a tremendous drive after the big play and a bunch of runs to cash it in for 6.
Number 0 for Florida
Trell Johnson trying to track down Dylan Sampson for the most career rushing touchdowns among active SEC players. Hot on his heels within 2. But that prior graphic we put up might be the most telling graphic of this game. In terms of touchdowns in the red zone, Ole Miss is 0 for 3, and the Gators are now 2 for 2. And you've been talking about it the entire game.
Situational football. When there's a talent advantage on one side, and Ole Miss has a talent advantage, let's not deny that fact. They have more dudes, more veterans on their roster. Florida's young, and they'll get there, but they're not there yet. So what did Florida have to do? They had to win situational football to put themselves in position to pull off the upset. They've dominated on 3rd down, just 2 of 11. Ole Miss is 0 for 3 on 4th down, on critical 4th downs, and they're 0 for 3 in the red zone as well.
(24-17). The Gators on top, and Sark getting ready. 9-1 for the 2nd consecutive season, looking to get to 10-1 against a dangerous Kentucky team. That is the next game in our SEC on ABC triple header. Kentucky and Texas on deck. So now can Ole Miss answer? They are down by 7, and their playoff hopes hanging very much in the balance here at the Swamp.
I'm not sure there's a lot of quarterbacks in college football, though, I'd rather add, than Jackson Dart in a situation like this.
And he's going to run it. Straight quarterback run. There goes Jackson Dart. Across the 50. All the way to the 40-yard line. A late flag thrown on the sideline for Ole Miss. And again, Dart lost his helmet.
Sideline warning. Ole Miss. It is their first of the game.
So a sideline warning does nothing to erase the play.
And Jackson Dart, just a great job here. He allows Davis to become his lead blocker. He follows it through the hole for a big gain.
Austin Simmons tries the quick screen, and that was dropped by Juice Wells. That'll bring Dart right back in. 2nd down and 10 at the Gators' 40-yard line.
Ole Miss hasn't had much going in the run game so far today. That 35-yard run by Dart, by far their most productive carry of the game. Their longest run before that was just 8 yards. So they can continue to lean on Jackson Dart's legs, though, here against an aggressive pass rush.
Dart launches one towards the end zone. Incomplete. Right through the hands of Jordan Watkins, as Jordan Castell was there in coverage.
It was a really nice throw, and you got to wonder, the sun beaming off the face mask, if Watkins had a difficult time tracking that, because I'm not sure you could drop it much better than that on the throw by Jackson Dart. Huge 3rd down, possible 4-down territory here, so you don't have to throw it, and you don't have to get all of it, because Lane Kiffin will likely roll the dice on 4th down.
Will the Gators bring pressure? 2 for 11 on 3rd down for Ole Miss. They have struggled. Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes. They didn't have an answer for the blitz. Caleb Banks helping Tyreek Sapp collapse the pocket. And they'll have to punt.
And with the starting center out, they're attacking the new center. And that is Jerquan Scott, who this time is working against Sapp, who rushes upfield. You have pressure coming off the right-hand side as well, which forces Dart to step up right into the waiting arms of a Florida Gator defensive lineman. And the injured center, McIntyre, being out has had a huge effect down the stretch for the Rebels.
Was in with the intentional end-over-end kick. DK, fair catch at the 6. So Lane Kiffin will trust his defense to get a stop after he flips the field, but they have to have it.
There's never been a playoff like this. The new 12-team college football playoff begins with the first round December 20th and 21st.
For those first round games, home campus sites That's going to be a scene. That is going to be fun.
No doubt about it.
The hope for Ole Miss, Greg, to make the college football playoff rests on this defense getting a stop on this series. Lagway from the end zone to throw. Floats one up the sideline. And he hits Elijah Badger for a first down. Gain of 16.
How about the trust that Billy Napier has in his quarterback, DJ Lagway? I mean, you got terrible field position. You're dropping him back close to his own end zone. You decide not to run the ball, even though you ran the ball with great success on the last drive. You instead put it in his hands to make a great decision and an accurate throw to give you some breathing room.
Why are they snapping the ball early? A handoff here to Montrell Johnson. The Gators just snapped the ball with 16 seconds on the play clock. That is certainly doing Ole Miss a favor. Every time you snap the ball, going no huddle, I would think you want to maximize the play clock at this point, chew up as much time as you can.
Yeah, I would be playing slow right here. You're not quite to 4 minutes yet. That's when you start to really think about the clock, but still knowing the firepower of Ole Miss to give them extra chances, extra possessions is not going to be in the Gators' benefit.
This time they snap it with about 10. It's Montrell Johnson again. Tackle for loss and a flag down. That might be a horse collar. Xavier Harris, it looks like, with a horse collar tackle on Montrell Johnson.
Horse collar tackle, defense number 51. A 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the previous spot. First down.
That's a killer mistake for Ole Miss.
And just a massive, massive mistake. I mean, you're stopped behind the line of scrimmage, but the right hand of Harris up around the collar of Montrell Johnson. It's an easy call for the official, and another first down for the Gators awarded from the Ole Miss defense by way of penalty. So frustrating, has been a theme all season for Lane Kiffin's Rebels.
Jaden Baugh behind the line. He's brought down. Walter Nolan, another tackle for loss. And again, they snapped it with about 10 on the play clock there. So it might be a minor thing, but that, if you add it all up, it's 3 or 4 snaps on this drive where they probably have saved
40 seconds.
At least 40, maybe 50 seconds for Ole Miss. Jacoby Jackson now in the game at tailback.
Every one of those seconds could be really valuable down the stretch. So I'm not really sure why there hasn't been the communication. Hey, man, slow it down. Under 5 is when you need to snap the ball.
They take it a little further down here. Screen out to Jackson, and that'll stop the clock. On the tip by Jared Ivey. So here is a must stop for Ole Miss. 3rd down and 13. Still with over 4 minutes on the clock. Ole Miss has all of their timeouts. So plenty of time for Jackson Dart and that offense. But here's where you have to get a stop if you're the Rebels.
We're going to find out what Billy Napier thinks of his quarterback here, working against the best pass rush in America. Coming into today, 46 sacks. They have 3, so up to 49 sacks. And Lagway, in an obvious passing situation, going to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly because you know Ole Miss going to pin their ears back.
They rush 4. Lagway well protected. Incomplete for Deacon. The Rebels get the stop they need. And we'll see what kind of field position they get. And they continue to trust Jordan Watkins as their punt returner ever since Micah Davis muffed one earlier. Now Crawshaw is a field position changing weapon at punter. Watkins, returnable. Tries to get outside and gets bottled up. So Florida with the 7-point lead. They struck first, it was Badger. And then Ole Miss answered. As Trey Harris scored, he then left the game with an injury. Caden Lee gave them the lead. Then the answer for the freshman Jaden Baugh. They went went wildcat with Montrell Johnson to make it 24-17. And that's where we stand now. Greg, the big weapon, of course, out of the game in Trey Harris. But they've played 3.5 games without their #1 receiver. And, Greg, their offense has not taken a step back. Now they have to have a touchdown.
Have to. And Jackson Dart's got to be really smart. This pass rush for Florida has really picked things up these last couple drives. You've got to get the ball out.
Dart outside. This time, the sure hands of Watkins. In front of Triquez Bridges. Picks up 5.
Jackson Dart has played so much football, has energized this program and elevated it to new heights. And with the game on the line, down 7 in hostile territory, it'd be really hard-pressed to find a better option to lead your team into this difficult situation, but needs to continue to get the ball out, be accurate on the underneath, and identify blitzes when they're coming.
And it looks like one's coming here. Dart flushed, lobs one up the right sideline, incomplete. Overthrew Watkins, and luckily overthrew the double coverage as well. Now it's 3rd down and 5.
Big down here, 3rd and 5. Possible 4-down territory, but unlikely, not with 3 timeouts in your hip pocket. On this particular down and distance, they love to look in the direction of Caden Lee. He's their slot receiver. If you can find a matchup for their slot, that's the guy they want to work.
Dart avoids a sack. He's going to try and run for it. He's got it. Tiptoes the sideline and gets just enough. A clutch scramble by Jackson Dart.
Nifty footwork in the pocket, too. I mean, just excellent job making the guy miss, knowing exactly how far he had to get, and then tightrope in the sideline to assure the conversion.
Draw play. Dominique Thomas close to a 1st down. He's got 8.5. Bryce Thornton made the stop, so it's 2nd down and a long one close to 2. They'll run for it again, and busting into the secondary to midfield is Thomas. Let's see if this takes us all the way down to the 2-minute timeout. Shamar James brought him down. I think he somehow believed he may not have been down. And did they let that play continue? They did. That takes us down to the 2-minute timeout. Let's see where they mark the football. It looks like they're going to bring it back closer to midfield. Let's see. Now they're going to mark it at the 44-yard line of the Gators. They gave him some extra yardage.
Florida on the verge of a 2nd consecutive upset, but the Ole Miss Rebels and Lane Kiffin on the move in plus territory, down 7.
Is the playoffs already for Ole Miss? With a win, very much alive for the college football playoff. With a loss, their hopes all but dashed, and they are down by 7 at midfield with a 1st down. Abba Shoes and Greg McElroy, Molly McGrath, Jackson Dart to the outside to Jordan Watkins. Another gain of 5. Triquez Bridges bumps him out, but Greg, so far, it's been an efficient drive for Jackson Dart. He has them in position, and they have their timeouts.
It's been very methodical, and so far Florida's played a lot of soft coverage. At some point, they need to get up and challenge these wide receivers. But Jackson Dart's such a great deep ball thrower. You always got to be mindful that he could throw it over your head if he gets a one-on-one.
Instead, an underneath throw, this time to Caden Lee. Driven back, but forward progress gives him the 1st down. Sharif Denson made the tackle. Inside of the last 2 minutes, of course, until they spot the ball ready for play. The clock stops, so that buys Ole Miss a little extra time. Now it restarts.
This would be a spot, too, where you got to be aware of a double move. Maybe fake the hitch, then run right by him.
Dart looking downfield. He is going to take a shot towards the end zone. No one there but Gators, and it's a pick. Bryce Thornton with the interception. It is not over yet. Ole Miss has all 3 timeouts, but that is a dagger to Lane Kiffin and the Rebels' hopes.
And just a huge mistake by Dart. Look at how many defenders are on the right side of the field. Instead, if he takes the top, it's a touchdown. He works the left, and he's got major problems with all that flow working from right to left from the Gators. He throws into triple coverage, gets impatient, and it's easily intercepted by Thornton in the end zone. And now the Gators have a chance to put this thing on ice because of the poor decision by the veteran Jackson Dart.
One more time, Ole Miss must depend upon their defense. And now it has to be a 3-and-out. They have all 3 timeouts, still with a minute and a half on the clock. And Lane Kiffin is all the way down the sideline, standing right next to the official on the line of scrimmage. He is set to start calling his timeouts. Montrell Johnson, cut down, timeout, number 1 is called. Will Jackson Dart get one more opportunity? You know he's hoping for it, because he is as distraught as could be over on the sideline.
Just so disappointing from a quarterback's perspective. He predetermined where he was throwing that football. Before the ball was even snapped, he knew he was throwing it to the left. You cannot predetermine. I know you want to make a play. You're the leader of this team. You're the leader of this university in many ways as you've lifted this program up to the highest height it's ever been at. But you still have to allow the defense to dictate where you go with the football. And with all those defenders working to the left, you had one-on-one to the right against your deep threat Watkins. And that's where you should have gone with the football. But hopefully for Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin, they'll get another shot if their defense can get off the field.
A first down for the Gators, and it's basically victory formation. A 3-and-out for Ole Miss, and Dart gets one more chance. DK in motion. Montrell Johnson brought down. Another timeout called by Lane Kiffin. It comes down to this play. 3rd down and about 4.5.
Just eyes the left the whole way. Never really allows his receiver to make a play. I mean, even if you underthrow it, you might have a chance, but no chance whatsoever for Juice Wells, as there's 3 guys on top of him anticipating the big play. Really poor decision. Now with 3rd down in the balance for the Florida Gators, Jackson Dart can only look on, just praying that that last interception doesn't extinguish the hopes of the Ole Miss Rebels in the college football playoff.
Will Billy Napier give DJ Lagway play action, a 2-way go, put the ball in his hands, because a first down ends the game?
I think if DJ Lagway were at 100%, they would roll him to the right, quarterback, sprint right, and use him as an RPO. If you don't like it, run, DJ. But with him not being at 100%, I think they'll probably lean on the ground. But if they drop back to throw it, it's an indicator of just how much Billy Napier trusts his young quarterback.
They give it to Jacoby Jackson. And that is exactly what Ole Miss had to have. They're going to get one more chance. 3 run stops. 1:10 on the clock. And it's an Ole Miss offense that 13 times this season has scored in less than a minute. They scored 2 touchdowns in less than 3 minutes in the first half. Jackson Dart's going to get one more try.
What's going to be so significant for Jackson Dart is that so far Florida has given him everything underneath. I mean, they'll take hitches all day long, and Florida will give that up. Jackson Dart, though, finally got impatient and threw one over their heads, and it resulted in an interception. Will Florida continue to give up the underneath coverage, give them the 5 yards in a cloud of dust, or will they come up and be maybe slightly more aggressive and challenge these wide receivers? I'd anticipate the former and see if he can continue to try to be patient as he works his way down the field.
How patient can you be with only a minute on the clock and no timeouts compared to what you had before, which was 3 minutes and your timeouts? Let's see where they end up with the football. Crawshaw gets it away. Line drive kick. And this is going to sail out of bounds. He didn't hit that one well. Where did it go out? Up the sideline, and they will say at the 34-yard line of Ole Miss. Only a 39-yard punt.
This is what you dream of. When you play quarterback at the Pee Wee level, you want that adversity. Tom Brady, the best ever. They want that challenge. They want that steep hill to climb with their teammates. Jackson Dart helped build this roster for this moment. Can he deliver? First thing, though, on a 2-minute drive, you got to get the drive started. Completion here, positive yardage increases your chances of scoring exponentially if you get positive yardage on 1st and 10.
Watkins in motion. Blitz coming. Dart avoids a sack. Shakes another off. Down he goes. And now you can't stop the clock. Tyreek Sapp brings him down. It's only a loss of 1, but it's the loss of the time as they have to get their receivers back and lined up. 45 seconds remaining. 4-man rush. Seam shot. Caught. Out near midfield, Caden Lee. And of course, the college football rules stop the clock. Inside of 2 minutes to go for the first down. Gain of 19.
Those vertical throws are going to be there. You have the hitches underneath. Look how soft Florida's defenders are.
A rolling snap, flag down. That's going to be a 10-second runoff. That's going to cost them time. That's a killer. That's 10 seconds they need.
Prior to the snap, timeout, Florida.
Florida calls a timeout.
It will be 30 seconds.
Oh, that is a huge break for Ole Miss, as it looked like they were throwing a flag for an errant snap or a false start, as that would have cost them 5 yards, but also, Greg, would have cost them a 10-second runoff as they're out of timeouts.
Yeah, way more important than the 5 yards is the 10-second runoff. Just bailed out there. And it's not a bad timeout for Billy Napier. Hindsight's 20/20. You don't know they're going to roll the snap back and jump off sides. But his defense was playing really, really soft. And they were giving up some seam throws like they just did a moment ago that led to some chunk yardage. So I'm okay with the timeout there, even though it would have obviously wiped a lot of time off the clock had it not been called.
Now with 30 seconds left, your strategy is to try to get the ball where to get a shot at the end zone. Is there kind of a finish line where you know I've got one shot at the end zone and you've got your highest percentage play?
Well, at this point, with how quickly Ole Miss can operate, I don't think you necessarily need to be thinking Hail Mary just yet. You're a chunk play away, maybe 2, from having 4 shots into the end zone from inside the 20-yard line. So my goal is always to get inside the 20-yard line, because at that point I can run a play in 3 or 4 seconds and still get a chance of throwing into the orange paint.
4 seconds to the clock as well, so that also helps the Rebels. Dart can't take a sack. Into traffic, sideline, broke it up. Caden Lee took a big hit. Sharif Denson delivered it. 2nd down and 10, just across the 50.
Pass rushers have really been quiet for Florida today. George Gums is their best guy. He's working over here against the left tackle. He's excellent one-on-one.
Dart to the sideline again. Is that intercepted by Dijon Johnson? It is. And that will end it. The replay booth will take a look to make sure it didn't hit the ground. But Jackson Dart believes he has thrown a game-ending pick. Let's see. This may not be a completed catch. No. Wow. That's not a pick. Jackson Dart's going to get another opportunity. Wow.
Unbelievable. As the ball going to the ground, have to survive the ground just like you would any other catch, and the ball hits the turf. And it looks like Dart realizes now as he gets his helmet ready to roll. And what a swing, wild swing of emotions here in this game for Jackson Dart.
How do you deal with that? As a quarterback, I mean, you think the game's over a couple of times, and now you're back out on the field with new life, 24 seconds to go again.
My message to the team would be, let's make them pay. If they're going to give us another shot, third time's a charm, right? That's what you have to say, and you can never let them see you sweat. I mean, as a quarterback, it doesn't matter what happened, you're always looking forward, and Lane Kiffin needs to settle his quarterback down, though, and say, hey, look, you got time here. You got plenty of time. Just need to make sure a sack here kills us. You cannot take a sack under any circumstance. So if nothing's there and you got guys in your face, lose it out of bounds.
After video review, it is an incomplete pass. When the receiver went to the ground, he did not maintain firm control. It'll be 3rd down and 10 at the 48-yard line.
So Ole Miss still has a pulse. 24 seconds to go. First things first, they must at some point here get a first down to get down to, and again without Trey Harris, where you said, Greg, where you've got at least a realistic shot of making a play in the end zone that might not be a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I would try to throw something quick, maybe a short out, a quick hitch, and then instruct my receivers to go straight for the sideline to make 4th down a little more manageable. So you got to be thinking about the first down more than the touchdown at this point.
4-man rush. Dart. Sidearms one down the sideline. That one is going to be picked. Another miscommunication with Juice Wells. And Bryce Thornton does it again. And this one they can't come back from.
Wow. Just another miscommunication. Wells is going on an out and up, but because the defender stays on top, Juice has the freedom to sit it down, run kind of like a curl route. He does. Dart thinks he's going to go behind the defender, but Thornton's there yet again to reel in another interception here in the waning moments to put this game on ice. Jackson Dart just too aggressive here down the stretch, has led to multiple interceptions, and Lane Kiffin knows it. Jackson Dart knows it. Agonizing defeat with so many missed opportunities for the Rebels today.
The hopes for LSU ended here in the Swamp last week. And Ole Miss will suffer a similar fate this week as DJ Lagway takes a knee. And Jackson Dart, the first time he has thrown multiple interceptions in the last 2 years. And the Gators pull off another upset. They beat Ole Miss 24-17. And this one looks like it will end any hopes for Ole Miss to make the college football playoff. 24-17 is your final. The Gators over Ole Miss. For Molly McGrath and Greg McElroy, I'm Bob Wischusen. Thanks so much for watching. So long from the Swamp.